Chapter 487, Esteemed One's Path, 1. Pajajajajajik. How many days have I spent fleeing through the path of stars, evading the grasp of the golden shaking bird? As I travel, the strength in the arm gradually fades, and eventually it finally vanishes. It seems it's impossible for it to emerge directly beyond the lightning sacred sea. It must have exhausted its strength, trying to reach out from within its confinement. Now, the end of the path of stars is in sight, and the peaceful cloud realm comes into view in the distance. A massive thigh-shaped decaying corpse realm floats in the cosmic space. Just one more crossing from here, and I'll be in the ancient force realm. The deep sea of the ancient force realm might be daunting to cultivators at the integration stage and below, but for esteemed ones and above, one can easily break through the depths and rise back up, relying on attraction force at a cosmic level. Even if they enter the ancient force realm, they can emerge with their own power without issue. However, instead of returning straight to the ancient force realm, I exit the peaceful cloud realm. By now, I've come far enough that I could reach the middle realm within a few months if I chose to travel there, so there's no pressing need to rush along the path of stars. Rather than that, I take a moment to carefully observe the peaceful cloud realm from the outside. I've wondered about this before, but what exactly is this decaying corpse realm? No, it's probably not even a decaying corpse realm. The stars that connect the path of stars are all just true persons in disguise. Therefore, this peaceful cloud realm is likely also the disguise of an entering nirvana true person. But why would this particular being choose to disguise themselves as the decaying corpse realm? If I awaken them to ask, the living beings inside the peaceful cloud realm would probably be thrown into chaos. And honestly, I can't assume they would be a friendly presence towards me. Though curiosity stirs within me, I decide to leave it be for now, flying to a nearby suitable star and settling myself there. I then turn to my shadow and ask. Over the past few days, I couldn't ask because I was busy shaking off golden shaking bird. But didn't you also say you'd help me find Kong Mini, the ghost guiding Holy Mother? Rest assured, I will help Taoist locate the ghost mother as well. Co Huiol emerges from my shadow with a faint smile. Tell me her location. I don't know yet myself. I'm simply having myself scattered across the cosmos and high in EUM to search for her. But please don't worry. In about 10 years, I'll be able to trace the ghost mother with my wife's assistance. What? So you haven't tried any tricks on her? Has Taoist Co forgotten what he planted in the bosom of the ghost mother? Well, just inform me of her location once you succeed in finding her. And, oh hi Co. I look at Co Huiol as I speak. I know you're acting as Co Huiol's eyes right now. You're probably watching our conversation as well. If you find Kong Min Hee in the future, you're to retrieve every record of her movements since she arrived in the astral realm and deliver them to me. Understood. My wife is asking Taoist Co, who do you think you are to be giving orders? Since Co Huiol is right in front of me, and you're connected to Co Huiol, I can locate you at any time through Co Huiol and launch an attack. Warwick. I speak, letting glass true fire rise from my body. It's not a joke. By using the subheart sword and flower soul filling the heavens to pass through Co Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens, I can pinpoint Oh Hi Co's location. Using this method, I can send her the subheart sword imbued with glass true fire. My wife says she accepts the terms. She should have done so from the start. I release the glass true fire and assume a lotus position. I can afford to wait 10 years. Kong Min Hee's location is immensely important to me as well. Originally, I thought I'd have to fly aimlessly around the entire universe searching for her, but with this method, I'll be able to memorize her location and find her directly later on. Once I've found the ghost mother's location and gathered her movement records over the past 100 years, I'll see Taoist again. Farewell. With those words, Co Huiol vanishes from the spot. I gaze into space from atop the desolate star, then attempt to connect with my comrades' subheart, swords that are linked to their souls. The distance to the lightning sacred sea is too great, so while the subheart swords can resonate with each other, they can't maintain a connection from that far. However, near the peaceful cloud realm, connecting with the subheart swords is entirely possible. For now, returning to the bright cold realm with my main body would be difficult. I feel a sense of shame towards Yunwei. Yunwei might actually hang herself. No, I won't tell her that John Myung-hoon has been kidnapped, just yet. For now, let's just greet my comrades and update them on recent events through the subheart sword. Just as I think this. Pete. Something like a flash of light flickers, and my connection through the subheart sword is cut off. What was that? Curious, I attempt to reconnect to the subheart sword through the plane of soul, and in the next instant, a flash appears and the connection is broken once more. What the? Determined, I reconnect the subheart sword. Fine. I'll establish a solid connection through the plane of soul. Just as my consciousness is about to reach my comrades. Flash. I see it. When I elevate my mind fully to the plane of soul, I finally see it. The scene of a golden radiance flashing in the plane of soul and severing my very will in an instant before disappearing. Huh. I let out a small chuckle and begin concentrating my mind with all my strength. So that's how it is? Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. Although John Myung-hoon is doomed to endure 10,000 years of pleasure training, it seems there are those who have grown in power during that time. You sure are fast. I hadn't even noticed. It's probably because of high-end GWI. Ever since witnessing the pinnacle of martial arts shown by the owner of the void, my enlightenment has become scattered, which might explain my lapse in perception. But, even with that in mind, the speed is astonishingly hard to even perceive. There's only one being with both this speed and this golden radiance. I prepare to reconnect with my comrades. If I am to break through this speed and reconnect, there's only one way. I must pierce through. No matter how quickly my will is cut off, I need to crush his very intent moving at that speed with enough powerful force and pierce directly through. Kugugugugu. I pull my main body up momentarily to the plane of soul. Then, within the plane of soul, I overlay my shining light with the appearance of my main body. On the plane of soul, the forms of stars become one. At the same time, boundless power begins surging from that spot. Here I come. This time, you won't stop me. Do-do-do-do-do. The entire plane of soul nearby begins to shake. I focus my consciousness directly through the plane of soul. Quong. Immediately, my consciousness collides with something. Once again, something incredibly fast attempts to sever my consciousness, but due to the difference in weight, I feel something breaking. And at that very moment, my consciousness finally reaches the bright cold realm. Twirak. The place where I open my eyes is the cedarwood grove in the bright cold realm. Above a mountain. On the mountain peak. In front of me stands a familiar figure, gripping a saber and grinning. You're here. The man in black martial attire, Kim Young-hoon, wearing a bright expression, immediately readies himself. Come at me. Today, I'll show you who the real Hyung-nim is. I smile faintly at his words and raise both hands. I can feel Kim Young-hoon tensing as he envelopes his entire body in sharp energy. At the edge of the imminent clash, I spread both my hands wide and laugh. I surrender. What? Kim Young-hoon frowns and asks again. What kind of crazy talk is this? Are you doing this because you don't understand why I'm acting this way? Yes, I understand. Congratulations, Young-hoon Hyung-nim. Through the plane of soul, I gaze into Kim Young-hoon's soul. Currently, he exists within the plane of soul as a radiant star, with clouds gathering around him and emitting a brilliant light. He too has reached the realm of void shattering. Kim Young-hoon, brimming with sharp energy as if he's about to cut me down at any moment, shouts. If you know, why are you acting like this? Before I cut you down right now. Just as he grows excited and prepares to swing his saber. Tat it. You're here, Seo Eun-hyun. Someone jumps in between me and Kim Young-hoon. So, have you managed to control your emotions? It's Jangik. I haven't managed to control them yet. Because of that, my current realm is also in an unstable state. Beyond Jangik, I look at Kim Young-hoon and raise the all-heavens sword above my hand. Wawoom. The formless sword compresses, and a single sword with all of the heaven's natural colors appear above my hand. This is my sword that has reached the realm of seated detachment, entering hope. And going further from here, this is my sword that has reached the realm of void shattering. Keying. The all-heavens sword, compressed from the formless sword, compresses once again. Taking on a form akin to a line of intent, I gaze at the all-heavens sword, which has materialized as the very concept of cutting itself. This is my sword. At a glance, it appears unimpressive, merely a thin line. But this is my sword, manifested as the very concept of cutting. I returned from briefly visiting the Lightning Sacred Sea. Near the Lightning Sacred Sea, I encountered an incident and had to witness something terrifying. Something terrifying? Kim Young-hoon looks puzzled, and I try to move the compressed all-heavens sword. However, the thin all-heavens sword seems to distort in air and then, like a reed, snaps and scatters into the air. A terrifying martial art that denies the very meaning of martial arts. I had to witness the emptiness that renders everything we've trained as meaningless. Since then, I've begun to have doubts about my martial arts. Because of that, my current realm has become unstable. While I can still use the subheart sword and the basic abilities of void shattering to some extent, fighting as a true martial artist is difficult. Jangik supplements my explanation. This brat seems to have encountered some transcendent entity out in the distant universe. Ever since then, he's been in this state. I see. Well, I understand for now. It seems Kim Young-hoon and Jangik have already introduced themselves, as they appear quite familiar with each other. Well, since it's come to this, we should drink and relieve our pent-up feelings. Kim Young-hoon smacks his lips and disappears briefly before reappearing. In his hand is a cloth bag, inside which are a small table for drinks, a bottle of alcohol, and a side dish. Jang Ik, Kim Young-hoon, and I sit atop the mountain and begin drinking together. By the way, I notice even Cedarwood Grove uses chopsticks. I introduce them myself, since they can double as daggers in emergencies. Kim Young-hoon has already distributed chopsticks and spoons to Cedarwood Grove, and Jang Ik seems completely accustomed to chopsticks as he uses them skillfully to pick up the side dish. The side dish looks like a pure white bellflower root salad, though it resembles stripped tree bark. Despite its appearance, it tastes incredibly good. Moreover, with each bite, my consciousness becomes clearer, and a boundless stream of heaven and earth spiritual energy seems to spring forth within me, making it appear to be a remarkable elixir on its own. Though I'm currently in a cloned state, even just transferring the spiritual energy to my main body through the plane of soul would be considerably beneficial. A spiritual elixir effective even for those at the star-shattering stage. What on earth is this? As I take a sip of the drink and some of the side dish, curiosity crosses my face, prompting Kim Young-hoon and Jang Ik to speak. The liquor is white red wine. I prepared it in advance since it seems you like it. Oh, thank you. But what is this side dish? It's incredibly delicious. Jang Ik picks up another bite of the side dish and explains. It's Sacred Master Baek-woon's body. As I'm eagerly eating the tree bark that looks like bellflower root salad, I freeze on the spot. Since I went through so much in the lightning sacred sea, I pestered her for a nourishing elixir for my health. Generously, she told me to cut off whatever part one wanted from her body and eat it. So I brought some back. Couldn't it have been just a polite gesture? You know, like saying, you've been through so much. I wish I could even cut off a part of myself to feed you or something along those lines. Not my problem. She should have chosen her words more carefully. Feeling uneasy, I remove the mouthful of Sacred Master Baek-woon's body salad from my lips. Jang Ik clicks his tongue and says, anyway, the bodies of the tall tree race are already traded in various places as spiritual elixirs. Since the tall tree race is half tree by nature, cutting off parts and selling them isn't an issue. Moreover, there are a lot of cases of the tall tree race themselves cutting their body to use as food for nutrients or for trading. And honestly, for any heaven tribe at the core formation stage and above, the physical body itself isn't even that important. I also got permission. Yes, well, if you put it that way. Though I still felt a bit uneasy, since Sacred Master Baek-woon herself granted permission, I decided to just go along and eat it. Unlike chi-building pills or similar items, this is essentially like Sacred Master Baek-woon handing over her trim nails or toenails, so I don't feel too guilty about consuming it. Only slightly unsettled. While eating, a sudden curiosity strikes me, and I ask, by the way, which part of Sacred Master Baek-woon's body is this? Haha. Curious, are you? If you knew, neither of you would be able to put it in your mouths. Never mind. Though the feeling of unease grows, the taste of Sacred Master Baek-woon's body is truly akin to heavenly delicacy, so I decide to keep eating without further thought. Jang Ik and Kim Young-hoon, in particular, eat the body of Sacred Master Baek-woon enthusiastically, while I just pick at it, letting them enjoy more. Then, when there are 3 pieces of Sacred Master Baek-woon's body left, Jang Ik and Kim Young-hoon each grab a piece, quickly chewing and swallowing, while I slowly reach for the last piece. It's unsettling, but it's still a spiritual elixir, so it wouldn't hurt to eat it. Just as I pick up the last piece with my chopsticks. Tack! Kim Young-hoon's chopsticks flick my chopsticks away powerfully, snatching Baek-woon's body piece at the speed of light. No, what is? Just as I'm taken aback. Tung! A green light flashes as Jang Ik's chopsticks smack Kim Young-hoon's chopsticks back. Clatter! Thanks to that, the last remaining piece falls back onto the plate. Kim Young-hoon glares at Jang Ik with widened eyes. What are you doing? What are you doing? You should know how to yield something valuable to a senior. Shouldn't it be the senior who yields to the junior? Then why don't you yield to Seo Eun-hyun? You always go around calling each other brothers. Seo Eun-hyun reached this realm before me, so in cultivation terms, he's technically my senior. Is this brat drunk? The nonsense he's spouting is ridiculous. I look at the two and sigh as I say, you each took 1 piece when there were 3 left, so this last one should be mine. I'll take it, so please stop fighting. What nonsense is this? I went through the trouble of getting this from Baek-woon, so of course I should eat it. Neither Senior Jang nor Seo Eun-hyun really need this, do they? I, however, want to eat it because the nature of light within this elixir aligns perfectly with my saber energy. Tick, 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 tick. We clash our chopsticks as we bicker with each other. Why on earth are they acting like this? While Sacred Master Baek-woon's fragment is indeed an incredible spiritual elixir, I didn't expect it to cause an argument. They both seem awkward as they suddenly display a greed they normally don't show, fighting over a side dish. Watching them, I suddenly catch a glimpse of Jang Ik and Kim Young-hoon's expressions. Only then do I understand. I failed to notice because they're all good at concealing their intense and hard essences at this level. I chuckle as I move my chopsticks. I should have caught on when Kim Young-hoon brought out the drinking table. So, was this their plan all along? Pong. A powerful energy wave explodes from my chopsticks, pushing the two of them back. Both of you should step aside. It seems I really must eat this. You greedy Heaven Tribe scoundrel. So you reveal your true colors. Gal. A mere deputy dares to covet the director's side dish. Jang-ik and Kim Young-hoon thrust their chopsticks forward, trying to snatch my side dish. Kim Young-hoon's chopsticks turn into golden radiance as they thrust towards me. Jang-ik's chopsticks dye green, unleashing overwhelming oppressive force that presses down on my momentum. Ting. Kim Young-hoon's chopsticks flick the side dish caught between my chopsticks. The side dish flies into the air, and Jang-ik springs up from his seat, leaping after it. Simultaneously, Kim Young-hoon and I grab Jang-ik's leg with our chopsticks and slam him down to the ground. Jang-ik quickly rises again, swinging his chopsticks. Slashes scatter in all four directions. Both Kim Young-hoon's and my chopsticks snap. Yet we each create colorless and golden light chopsticks, using them to confront Jang-ik. Jang-ik rushes at us, wielding his chopsticks in a downward slash. Duckwang. Even though they're just chopsticks, the force of that single strike cleaves the mountain behind us cleanly in two. Kim Young-hoon evades, while I let it phase through before slowly reaching out with my chopsticks towards the side dish falling from above. If I don't use my full power, they'll both be disappointed. Heaven, Earth, Heart. The three great ultimates rise behind my chopsticks. Though I've limited the energy to the chi refining level, the three great ultimates are still the three great ultimates. An overwhelming tyrannical force that suppresses Kim Young-hoon and Jang-ik, who are both displaying energy at the same chi refining level, begins to surge. I center my energy at the chi refining level and begin to accelerate my consciousness. Tiding. As my consciousness accelerates, the surroundings darken, and the speed of our chopsticks clashing intensifies. Kim Young-hoon's speed now seems to have reached some kind of transcendence. It's no longer just fast. When I regain my senses, he's already moved his chopsticks. But it's not simply a matter of surpassing space. This is time reversal? This crazy. 0.1 seconds? No, perhaps even shorter than slicing 0.1 seconds into 10 billion parts. Yet undeniably, his chopsticks briefly reversed time. His speed transcended time itself, even if only momentarily. Tuckwang. Kim Young-hoon's chopsticks pin me in place. Jang-ik's chopsticks tear apart the chopsticks I formed, ripping through the space itself as he corners me. It's just above a small plate, yet within that space, three Heart Tribe members are fiercely battling. And at some point, this three-way duel between me, Kim Young-hoon, and Jang-ik has turned into a battle between two factions, Kim Young-hoon and Jang-ik against me. The vision is different. Heaven path, Earth path, Heart path. I elevate all three visions to the level of the star-shattering stage. I read their history, fully grasping the techniques and intent Jang-ik and Kim Young-hoon are preparing. At the same time, I foresee every possible outcome and block each of their moves in advance, even if the speed can momentarily transcend time. For someone like me, who can read both the past and the future, speed is meaningless. Everything is red. Tidididing. Kim Young-hoon's speed is indeed fast enough to transcend time, if only for a fraction. But it's useless. With an almost omniscient sense, I begin to predict and counter every move Kim Young-hoon makes. The tyrannical force granted by the three great ultimates overpowers Jang-ik's destructive power. The omniscience, Chunjur, gained from the three realms of heaven, earth, and heart suppresses Kim Young-hoon's speed. Jang-ik and Kim Young-hoon gradually start increasing the synergy of their combined attacks. It seems they realize they have to join forces to match me. The storm above the plate grows more intense by the moment. We aren't simply bickering over a side dish with our chopsticks. Aware that my void-shattering realm is unstable, Jang-ik and Kim Young-hoon have chosen to display their skills through a chopstick duel in a way to compete, without having to use their full power for my sake. Dancing within the movements of chopsticks, this too is undeniably a martial contest. At some point, as I fend off their increasingly synchronized attacks, I slip into a state of ecstasy. My chopsticks transform into the All-Heavens Sword, while theirs become the surpassing Radiant Saber and the four treasures annihilating Heaven's Blade, clashing against me. In this trance, I recall the circle that High GWI once showed me. Can I reach that circle? The moment when High GWI shattered that circle without hesitation does not come to mind. Guk Guang of the Tall Tree race may be, by human standards, utterly deranged like a mad dog in heat. But what they said isn't entirely wrong. I should reach that realm first before making my judgment, even if the end of that path leads to Wuji shattering meaninglessly. I, too, will need to reach that realm before I can make my judgment. Can I reach it? It feels distant. Yet it's beautiful, a sacred realm that all those who practice martial arts strive to attain. Can I reach it? So distant that it's despairing, even ominous. And yet, I will reach it, even if that place turns out to be truly ominous. I resolve to witness that summit with my own eyes as I make a grand movement with my hand. Crack! The plate shatters. And in the end, the last side dish slips from my grasp and falls towards Kim Young-hoon and Jang-ik. However, neither of them were the expression of a victor. Is that it? That so-called ultimate of martial arts you claim to have seen? It seems Jang-ik saw something through me just now, as he makes an anguished expression. I give a bitter smile. Kim Young-hoon lets out a slightly drained laugh. I won the side dish, but I've lost in enlightenment. Yet he quickly regains his composure, laughing more heartily, as if delighted. Well, what is some side dish from a sacred master's body matter compared to martial arts? Seeing something that great is far more fitting as a side dish. He tosses away the fried fragment of Baekwoon's body, and Jang-ik, no longer fixated on the side dish, grabs the white red wine and drinks directly from the bottle. Jang-ik asks, "Still can't pick up the sword?" I nod with a bitter smile. I might be able to contest a bit in martial arts skills like we did just now, but I still don't have the confidence to wield the sword. If I were to hold the sword, it still feels like it will simply vanish. The circle that Hien Gwi showed me was that terrifying, that sacred, and also that ominous. Well, so be it. There'll come a day when we can truly duel. I'll let you off for today. Jang-ik clicks his tongue and drinks, while Kim Young-hoon closes his eyes and replays my intent earlier, his face flushed as if intoxicated by it. And so, our brief martial contest under the guise of a drinking party comes to an end. No one knows what the result would have been if we had used real swords and weapons and given our all. But at least with chopsticks, the judgment was in my favor. After a brief exchange of greetings with my comrades, I share information about John Myung-hoon's situation only with my fellow Enders, excluding Yun-wei and the others. So he's undergoing terrible torture at the hands of Golden Shaking Bird. Yes. However, I formed a temporary alliance with the Co. Hui bastard to rescue him. Kim Yun looks at me with worried eyes, trying to say something. Sorry, I can't understand you. I realize that I'll need to find a way to interpret her gestures and language at some point. After discussing John Myung-hoon's situation, Kong Min-hee's location tracking, and our future plans with my comrades, I step out of Cedarwood Grove for a moment. A lot has happened. I rose to the star-shattering stage, attracted the obsession of the sword spear Heavenly Lord, scolded Ham Jin, encountered Golden Shaking Bird, and as John Myung-hoon was kidnapped, it marked the end of the Lightning Sacred Sea expedition. Then, I met Hien Gwi, who is presumed to be the Heavenly Venerable of the Void, witnessed the ultimate of martial arts, and joined hands with Co. Hui, entering a contract. And now, I briefly exchanged moves with Kim Young-hoon, who has risen to Void Shattering, and Jang-ik. Truly, it feels like an overwhelming number of absurd events have happened, so much so that it's difficult to summarize. Now, after finding Kong Min-hee, I need to find a method to reach her mind, and I also need to begin my star-shattering cultivation. I can't rescue Kong Min-hee immediately. Inside her soul, there's a hole directly connected to the deepest part of the netherworld. I need to either close that hole or find a way to break free from the netherworld's influence. Until then, she will have to be sealed temporarily once I find her. For 10,000 years, while finding ways to save my comrades from the end, rescue Kong Min-hee, and rescue John Myung-hoon, let's cultivate. I return my consciousness to the astral realm. Now, I just need to wait for news about Kong Min-hee from Co. Hui and seal her once she's found. A few years later, news of Kong Min-hee comes from Co. Hui. Did I hear that wrong? No, you heard correctly, Taoist Co. What exactly happened to Kong Min-hee? She died, and then, she reincarnated. What is this bullshit that only you would? Without another word, Co. Hui hands me a crystal orb containing a recording spell. When I activate the crystal orb, inside, I see an infant Kong Min-hee babbling incoherently. 100 years and some decades since Kong Min-hee parted ways with us. In that period of time, short if short, long if long, she has died and reincarnated. First, explain. My head hurts. Please, make it understandable. To explain this, I must first tell you about the advancement ritual for the Sacred Vessel stage. From Co. Hui's mouth comes an explanation about the Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual. Chapter 488, Esteemed One's Path, 2. The advancement ritual for the Sacred Vessel stage is like the ship of Theseus. What? I'm momentarily dumbfounded by the absurd phrase that suddenly popped out of Co. Hui's mouth, but then I realize the reason and nod my head. Did you learn that from Ohiseo? Yes, I have learned many things about her homeland from her. Since Taoist Co. and your comrades are clearly the main figures of this generation, it seemed beneficial to study it, if only to communicate better with Taoist Co. Well, fine. Just keep explaining. By the way, is Taoist CO familiar with the concept of the ship of Theseus? My wife mentioned that Taoist CO might be too stupid to know about it. I know, so get to the point. The ship of Theseus. You remove an old plank from a large ship and replace it with a new one. Then, whenever other parts wear out, you repeat the process. At the end, when every plank has been replaced with new ones, can you still call it the same ship that Theseus sailed on when he slew the Minotaur? The star-shattering stage is the phase where the soul transforms into attraction force. However, from the sacred vessel stage onwards, attraction force reaches its peak, and the soul gradually transforms into immortal arts itself. Therefore, the advancement ritual from the star-shattering stage to the sacred vessel stage requires replacing one's entire life with immortal art. What kind of process would make Kong Min-hee reincarnate? Strictly speaking, it's not as though she actually died, crossed the Nether Crossing River, went to the underworld, faced judgment, and reincarnated. She simply grounded all her accumulated cultivation, mind, soul, and rank into the astral realm and scattered them. In other words, it's the concept of clones or leftovers. However, while typical clones or leftovers are created one or two at a time, since one completely shatters oneself during the star vessel ritual, thousands, tens of millions of clones and leftovers are created. Co Huiol's explanation continues. Let me explain about the sacred vessel advancement ritual. If the star-shattering stage is the realm where one explodes everything of oneself, then the sacred vessel stage is the realm where one scatters everything. Cultivation, consciousness, authority, all of it is scattered, leaving fragmented versions of oneself closer to mortal rank in a designated area. Then, using the immortal art one has chosen, one begins to integrate these fragments, one by one, centering around that immortal art. Integrating the fragments around the immortal art. The simplest example is right before your eyes. As I look at the tainted soul filling the heavens, I roughly grasp the concept. One lays down the immortal art they aim to attain, then shatters their body into fragments, spreading them beneath that immortal art. Then, they gather those fragments one by one, merging them back together with the immortal art as the center. I ask to confirm if my understanding is correct. You've understood well. Hold on, there's something I still don't quite get. Doesn't that mean that without something like your tainted soul filling the heavens, advancement to the sacred vessel stage is nearly impossible? There's a misunderstanding. One only becomes slightly vulnerable during the sacred vessel advancement, not to the point of it being impossible. Because, typically, one entrusts their personality to the immortal art. What do you mean by that? For instance, suppose one scatters and spreads everything of themselves beneath the immortal art examination of doubts. In that case, examination of doubts doesn't just remain as examination of doubts. The immortal art examination of doubts is also embedded with the personality of the main body, born within the area where the fragments are scattered. This immortal art, imbued with the main body's personality, absorbs the other fragments, gradually regaining strength, authority, and memories, and grows before finally rising to the sacred vessel stage. I understand. Then, this appearance of Kong Min-hee you showed me is. I look at her within the crystal orb and speak. Not Kong Min-hee herself, but an immortal art with her personality? You could say so. It really is the ship of Theseus, entrusting one's personality to an immortal art, which then becomes their main body. In that case, does an existence after the sacred vessel stage become entirely different from before the sacred vessel stage? I understand for now. Thanks for helping me find Kong Min-hee's location. It's nothing. And here are the requested movement records and current position of the ghost mother. I take the data gathered by Co Huiol and Oh Hi SEO, look over it, and then rise from my seat. The maximum distance that typical late star shattering stage cultivators can travel in a single leap with the ground shrinking technique is around 1.5 light years. Fortunately, the distance between her and me is currently about 15 light years. According to Gyuwul Jin, I'm practically at the grand perfection star shattering level, so I should be able to reach her in about 8 or 9 days. Then I shall take my leave now. I need to start preparing for my wife's star shattering advancement soon, and above all, she gets fussy if I'm away too long. The next time we meet will be in 10,000 years at the lightning sacred sea. After finishing his words, Co Huiol melts into the darkness of the universe and disappears. I watch him for a moment, then use the ground shrinking technique towards a distant point in the cosmos. Flash. I muster all my strength and leap across the vast expanse of space. I cover an immense distance in an instant, and as a result, I find myself temporarily drained and need to take a brief rest at that spot. I should fully recover in just one day. In a little over a week, I should be able to reach her. Just wait a little longer. I'm coming to help you. The place I arrive at is familiar. Mingyan continent. Once, During my 4-axis stage cultivation while running the Wuji religious order, this was the world where I first stopped by and forged a contract. Since the people of this world haven't named the star itself, I suppose I'll call it Mengyun Star for convenience. Mengyun Star is shrouded in ghostly energy everywhere. A few hundred years ago, while conducting my Axis Foundation practice, I lent my power as the Wuji Ghost King to a Mengyun Star cultivator named Yuhui. After that, Yuhui served me and cultivated the Ghost Path method, supposedly becoming a well-known cultivator on Mengyun Star. Is it because of that? It seems that thanks to Yuhui, the Ghost Path method is popular across Mengyun Star. Perhaps Kong Min he chose to scatter her cultivation on this Mengyun Star for that very reason. Should I search for Yuhui? I sweep my consciousness domain across the entire Mengyun Star, and soon I find him, secluded and facing a critical juncture as he advances from the core formation stage to the nascent soul stage. I could help him, but it's probably better for him to overcome something like this on his own. Besides, it doesn't look like he's in danger of dying yet. I decide not to interfere with Yuhui unnecessarily and instead survey the entire star system where the Mengyun Star is located. Since I'll be watching over Kong Min-hee for a long time anyway, I might as well conduct my star-shattering stage cultivation here in this star system. It would be best to prepare for cultivation by finding a reasonably large planet that I could orbit around. However, after scanning the entire star system, I realized that there's no planet large enough to bear the size of my main body. The main body being big, is also a problem. After spending several days examining nearby neighboring star systems, I finally come to a realization. My body is too large, so I can't conduct star-shattering cultivation on a typical planet. What should I do? After much contemplation, I eventually extend my gaze towards the fixed star. Fixed star, the massive lump of light, also known as a sun. After pondering for a long while, I finally make a decision. I should be able to use a fixed star, right? I discreetly choose one of the orbits in this star system and settle my main body there. Fortunately, my main body naturally integrates into the star system, and the star veins flowing from the fixed star don't reject me. For now, it doesn't seem like conducting my star-shattering cultivation here will be impossible. I retrieve Co Ran and Hong Fan from the alternate space and explain the situation to them. I see. That's right. That's why I need a bit of your help, Co Ran. No problem. I can lend it as much as Senior needs it. Thank you. I place Co Ran, Hong Fan, and one of my incarnations on Co Ran's nether crossing ship and send them towards the Mengyun Star, east of Mengyun Continent, in a corner of Baekju City, part of the subordinate nation under the commanding spirit school. In that place, where an unusually heavy energy flows, a ghost with disheveled hair cradles a baby and sings a lullaby. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. The stars and moon are quiet, too. Hush, little baby. Then, a young man emitting spirit energy appears in the place where the ghost resides. He is a chi-building cultivator from the commanding spirit school, sent to exterminate the ghosts that have been recently appearing frequently in Baekju City. Holding a talisman, the man approaches the ghost and bursts in anger. Wicked ghost, are you from an evil ghost path sect? This is the territory of the subordinate nation under the commanding spirit school. If you don't scram immediately, I'll exterminate you. But the ghost pays him no mind and only hums to the baby in its arms. The man frowns. Is it a mindless minor spirit? So it's not from another ghost path sect, but a naturally occurring vengeful ghost. But how could such a minor spirit enter Baekju City, where the commanding spirit school's barrier is active? As the man draws closer to the ghost, he flinches in surprise. What? This child is emitting energy? So it's a constitution that attracts ghosts. A constitution that draws vengeful ghosts into Baekju City, which is protected by a vengeful ghost barrier. How evil. Kwajajijik. The man swings his talisman, scattering the ghost. As a result, the baby that was in the embrace of the ghost falls to the ground, crying loudly. Forgive me, but with such an evil constitution, especially in the current situation where the influence of the ghost path sects are growing under the Death Spirit King, Yuhui, a being like you cannot be allowed to live. Just disappear and attain Buddhahood. He raises the lightning-scattering talisman. Clench. Someone grabs the man's wrist. Who are you? Do not gaze directly upon this esteemed one. Kalak. The chi-building stage man's eyeballs burst, and glass-colored flames begin to burn from where his eyes once were. No, the man's entire body begins to ignite in glass-colored flames. Kwagaf. Kyukyuk. Gihyuk. Kahik. Oh dear, you look directly. But do not worry. This is not even this esteemed one's glass true fire, just a mere shadow with less than a millionth of its full power. You will neither go mad nor suffer any aftereffects. In fact, your chances of reaching core formation in this lifetime have increased by 7/10, so consider it a blessing. The being who finished speaking grabs the man burning with flames and hurls him towards the sky. As the man flies through the air, the flames extinguish, and he becomes trapped inside a large glass crystal. He then falls back down, landing at his own commanding spirit school. The being who threw the man away. The man dressed in white looks at the baby who is crying loudly and gestures somewhere. Then, the ghost that had just been scattered reforms and gently cradles the baby, soothing it. After a short while, the baby falls asleep again. The man in white lowers his rank and gazes at the baby. It's been a while, Kong Min-hee. Now, for a long while, I'll stay by your side. He strokes the child's head and speaks. I'll find a way to save you, so just wait a little longer. The man in white, Seo Eun-hyun, sits next to his former lover who turned into a baby and looks up at the sky. In the sky of Mingyan continent, a new star appears. The core formation esteemed ones of the continent observe the new star, recognizing it as an ominous star symbolizing immense suffering, and predict that great calamities will soon sweep over the entire continent. No, over the entire world. Amidst the turbulent era on the chaotic Mingyan star, 10 years pass. Minhia, come eat. It has already been 10 years since I arrived on Mingyan star. I built a house in the mountains of a subordinate nation east of the Mingyan continent and raised Kong Min-hee. Do. I hear the sound of Kong Min-hee running from a distance. Minhia, I told you to please not run upside down on your hands before meals. You? With a slightly downcast expression, she jumps up while in a handstand position. Then, ghost-like beings appear around her, supporting her, and she floats over to the dining table in their arms. You. As soon as Kong Min-hee mumbles something, the ghosts each bring her water and wash her hands. All right, let's eat. You. With her small hands, she wraps up food and chews it slowly. Over the past 10 years, I've observed Kong Min-hee and came to know something. She is unable to speak, and she cannot walk on her two legs. Instead, she walks upside down on her hands or is carried by ghosts, and occasionally mutters something in an incomprehensible, strange language. I didn't understand at first, but I recently found out that the language she speaks is used only by the upper echelon of the netherworld. While chewing her food, Min-hee mumbles something softly in her small voice. As she mumbles, the celestial energy changes drastically. Even though she cannot use any spiritual power, authority, or attraction force, her muttering causes the attraction force throughout the entire star system to tremble. Minhia, I told you to be quiet while eating. You. Kong Min-hee sighs as if annoyed that I don't understand her meaning, then puts more food in her mouth. Is that her immortal art, which forms the core of her sacred vessel advancement ritual? Only recently, by interpreting her language, have I been able to learn what her immortal art is. The name of the immortal art is the flawless mantra. It is not something Kong Min-hee originally learned, but rather, I believe it is a mantra imparted to her by the forces of the underworld through her ghostly transformation immortal root. Chapter 489, Esteemed One's Path, 3. Immortal cultivation is, ultimately, a bridle. Attraction force is a chain, and fate is a bar. However, if one wishes to escape this inverted world from which there is no escape, one must first reach the pinnacle of the bridle. The first step towards that pinnacle is to draw a circle. Draw a perfect circle, flawless in every aspect. It is from there that it all begins. This is what is called flawlessness. From the formula of the flawless mantra. It has been 20 years since I arrived at Mingyan Star. Kong Min-hee has finally become an adult. Wawoom. Upside down, she calls for her ghosts and flies through the air, expressing joy. Is it perhaps due to the instinctive drive of the sacred vessel stage advancement ritual? Since the moment she could communicate with me through her womb, she has been eager to explore the world. She's probably trying to retrieve her scattered fragments spread across Mingyan Star, but I did not permit it. Among her scattered fragments, there are already numerous monsters who have reached the heavenly being stage, and there is the real possibility that Kong Min-hee, the core of the advancement ritual, could be killed by one of her own fragments. If that were to happen, she would really die during the sacred vessel advancement ritual. Over the past 20 years I've spent here, I cross-verified the details of the sacred vessel advancement ritual by sending an incarnation to Sacred Master Baekwon. And it seems Seo Huil's explanation is correct. I heard that each of the fragments desire to become the main body and wield authority for themselves. They don't want to be absorbed by Kong Min-hee. Rather, they want to kill her. Following the advice I received over 20 years from Sacred Master Baekwon through my incarnation, I kept Kong Min-hee confined to this mountain valley until she reached adulthood. Could it be due to the innate influence of her ghostly transformation immortal root? Or perhaps it's a trait common to all who have reached the star-shattering stage through the ghost path method. Since she was young, she possessed the talent for subjugating ghosts with just her gaze and thoughts. However, there were occasional incidents where her mind nearly succumbed to being invaded by the ghosts. Her power to subdue ghosts was not yet complete. I promised her that once her power fully matured upon reaching adulthood, she would be allowed to travel across the Mingyan continent, which is why she is so delighted right now. Hey, her physical body has matured, and she's grown accustomed to her authority. There's no need to worry about her being consumed by her own abilities. Very well. I grant you permission. From now on, you are free to travel the Mengyun continent and see the world. However, I signal to Seo Ran, who steps forward to join us. From now on, you will learn cultivation methods from Teacher Seo Ran, who has learned the Ghost Path method. Teacher Seo Ran will be your master and follow you, teaching you in the Ghost Path method. He will also protect you in times of danger. Womb. Kong Minhee ponders for a moment, then nods. In fact, she seems to like Seo Ran, flying up above him and grabbing his horn, shaking it with delight. Perhaps it's due to the strong sense of camaraderie they share, both being from Black Ghost Valley. Well, everything's fine, but why is she flying upside down? She used to walk upside down on her hands. When I asked her to do something about the dirt getting on her hands, she settled for flying upside down instead. Seo Ran looks up at Kong Minhee with a slightly taken aback expression, while I pack her belongings and hand them over to one of the ghosts under her command. Well then, off you go, Minhee. I'll be waiting. Womb. Kong Minhee, still upside down, gives me an enthusiastic farewell before descending along the valley. Seo Ran hurriedly follows after her, while I sit on the porch and watch as she grows more distant. In the past, she always looked exhausted, or a bit sad. But for the past few years, she's always been bright, so it's nice to see. Hong Fan, are you here? Sururuk. Hong Fan slithers out from behind a beam like a snake and transforms into a human before standing behind me. Now at the grand perfection integration stage, Hong Fan looks as youthful as someone in his mid to late 50s. He no longer looks like an old man, but rather like a slightly aged middle-aged man. Yes, please ask. How is the interpretation of the flawless mantra coming along? For the past 20 years, I've entrusted Hong Fan with the interpretation of the flawless mantra. I believe it might be the key to breaking Kong Minhee's curse. Perhaps Kong Minhee's loss of rationality is because she obtained an immortal art like the flawless mantra from the underworld. It seemed that researching the flawless mantra is necessary to sever her curse, so I began interpreting it alongside Hong Fan for that purpose. But in the midst of interpreting the flawless mantra, Hong Fan started showing unusual reactions. Also memory. It feels like I'm beginning to remember something. Memory? What kind of memory? Strangely, it feels like something from a past life. As for what this memory really is, it's unclear. Could it be that your past life was somehow related to the flawless mantra? I'm not certain, but I feel like I used to know a great deal about the flawless mantra. Whenever Hong Fan would look at the flawless mantra, he would clutch his head, saying that something from his past life seemed to resurface, so left the interpretation entirely to him, hoping to help him awaken those memories. After all, I can't fully comprehend an immortal art like the flawless mantra anyway with my level. It's probably better to leave it to Hong Fan, who claims to have known it in his past life. I feel like I'm on the verge of recalling something, but to be honest, it may take some time at this pace. Perhaps at this rate, it could even take thousands of years. Take your time. Your memories may be even more important, so focus on recovering those as well. Ho ho. In truth, the only memories that are resurfacing are specifically related to the flawless mantra. No other memories come to mind. Is that so? Very well. Then, just do as much as you can. After encouraging Hong Fan, I inform him of my own plans. Now, I must also begin my cultivation. As you roam throughout this star system, keep an eye out for anything suspicious approaching. Up until now, I have personally protected the entire star system with my main body. Just in case entering Nirvana true persons or others appeared, I needed to be prepared. Additionally, there are countless large rock fragments in the astral realm, so I've been using my main body to clear those that approach this star system to prevent Mengyun Star from being obliterated overnight. Now, Hong Fan will take over that role. As you command. Hong Fan immediately rises to the sky and heads toward the outskirts of the star system. After watching him for a moment, I sit in a lotus position. I inhale, drawing in heaven and earth spiritual energy. The energy within my incarnation rapidly amplifies, reaching the 6th star of Qi refining. In the past, I used to struggle to reach beyond Qi refining 7th star. Now, there's no need to align with the auspicious time to perform the 7 stars ritual. This is because, by tracing the star veins connected to the main body, I can directly locate the stars corresponding to the 7 stars ritual and draw upon their power. My main body acts as the altar, and the star veins as the ritual. Thus, there's no need for the tedious steps of setting up an altar and performing the rites anymore. Flash. After I cross the 7th star of Qi refining, I continue to supply my incarnation with heaven and earth spiritual energy. In an instant, my incarnation advances to the Qi building stage, reaching the 1st constellation, 2nd constellation, 3rd constellation, and 4th constellation of Qi building. At this point, Merely drawing in heaven and earth spiritual energy from the surroundings no longer elevates my realm easily. It's about time to receive directly from the main body. Kugugugugu. Light flashes in the sky, and then, as if intending to envelop the entire vicinity, a beam of light pierces down into the valley. Ho. Core formation, early, mid, late, grand perfection. Nascent soul, early, mid, late, grand perfection. Heavenly being, early, mid, late, grand perfection. Quadragigic. Absorbing all the heaven and earth spiritual energy transmitted by the main body, my incarnation instantly leaps into the heavenly being stage. A typical heavenly being cultivator would ascend at this point. In the astral realm, it is difficult to procure enough heaven and earth spiritual energy to advance beyond this realm. For a typical heavenly being cultivator in the astral realm to advance to the next stage, they would generally need to gather heaven and earth spiritual energy until their lifespan reaches its limit and then challenge the 4-axis stage. Of course, I have no such need. Kururu. Once again, a massive amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy is sent down in a single heap from the main body. I absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy with the vast cold heavenly circle and advance to the 4-axis stage. Kugugugugu. Heavenly tribulation rumbles in the sky, but as soon as the main body sends forth its will, the clouds themselves disperse. Now, unless it's a heavenly tribulation of integration stage or higher, I have no need to endure it. I have now reached the 4-axis stage. No, the Earth-axis stage. I rise to the stratosphere of the Mengyun star, overlook the Mengyun continent, and begin my Earth-axis cultivation. Jom. This is the benefit of forming the axis through the 5 blessings axis, or, like me, constructing all the Earth-axis within my main body. Among the various energies that constitute the colorless sword mountain treading sea great star, the energies of the 5 blessings and 6 extremes axis and the 5 elements axis resonate with my will, flowing into the area created within my incarnation's nascent soul. Simultaneously, the axes of 5 blessings, 6 extremes, and 5 elements of my main body and incarnation resonate, further strengthening the connection between my main body and my incarnation. It's still not enough to call them true axes. It's still merely the seeds of the axes, with energy too weak to be considered genuine axes. Over the next few years, if I imbue energy and consciousness into these axis seeds, I'll be able to make them into true axes. This is the difference in how one establishes the axes during the 4-axis stage. Depending on the axes established during the 4-axis stage, the type of axes one can form for the incarnation during the star-shattering stage varies. Those who form their axes with the heterodox axis foundation will end up creating incarnations based on the heterodox axis foundation even in the star-shattering stage. On the other hand, those like me who establish their axes through the 12 earthly branches axes will continue to form the 12 earthly branches axes even at the star-shattering stage. I didn't realize how crucial the first step would be. After nurturing the axis seeds for about 100 years, I should be able to advance to the integration stage as a complete Earth axis cultivator. Good? Now, let's wait patiently. Looking down from the sky of the Mengyun star, I gaze at Kong Minhee and Seo Ran as they travel across the Mengyun continent as I slowly nurture the axis seeds. In this manner, about 100 years pass. A message arrives from my comrades in the bright cold realm. Han Wen has been killed by Yunwei. What on earth happened? Beside Cedarwood Grove, I manifest a heart essence avatar and approach her, who is imprisoned within the Human Race District's detention center. She is not in the body of Yun Jin, but instead inside a puppet seemingly crafted in her own appearance by Kim Yun, her eyes gloomy as she meets mine. Han Wen is dead. This means that an integration stage grand cultivator of the human race has died, and simultaneously, someone who seemed both to be and not to be Yunwei's pillar of dependence has perished. And it was Yunwei herself who carried out the act. She rolls her eyes, looking at the guards behind me. I would like to speak alone. The guards glare at her, but I dismiss them with a gesture, then separate the surrounding space from the bright, cold realm and ask, what on earth happened? No. More importantly, how did you, who lost all your cultivation through who knows what, manage to kill Han Wen? I used Han Wen's bloodline to trigger a curse that traces back through his ancestors. That curse met my own curse already within his body, amplifying and driving Han Wen's condition to its worst. Then, I took advantage of that moment to lure him into a trap and activated the trap to kill him. When I told him that the Cheon R.A. or John R.A. woman he believed dead was still alive, he willingly followed me. Why did you kill him? I haven't finished explaining how I killed him yet. I gaze at Yunwei, whose heart essence has fallen into confusion and panic, and ask with a bitter expression. All right, continue. Despite everything, how could someone like me, stripped of all my cultivation, really be able to kill Han Wen? So I revealed the truth to him. A truth he absolutely could not deny. A truth. Bloodline. No matter how much he feigned madness for tens of thousands of years, refusing to see the truth, bloodline cannot be hidden. A cruel smile spreads on Yunwei's lips. Yunjin is, in fact, a descendant of the child of Han Wen and me. There is a technique called long pregnancy overflowing the heavens, Changren Taotan. It's a secret art of the tall tree race that I acquired while plundering resources from them before my engagement with Han Wen. It extends the usual gestation period of 10 months to 100 years, in exchange for transforming the child quality into the physique known as the long heaven body, Changtenki. This physique absorbs heaven and earth spiritual energy 100 times faster than that of other races. The only reason the tall tree race, whose only claim to fame is being descendants of sacred master Baek Won, holds influence in the bright cold realm is because of this secret art. The smile hanging on her lips deepens. However, to me, it doesn't look like she's smiling. Rather, it looks like she's screaming. I wanted our child to reign over the bright cold realm. But Han Wen went mad, and in the process of fighting him, I ended up using all the spiritual energy required to activate long pregnancy overflowing the heavens that I had infused into the embryo. In the end, the child born after I reduced Han Wen's cultivation was just an ordinary child. I gave them the surname Yun, and the continuation of the bloodline in secret from Han Wen is the present Yunjin. For 1,000 years before and after that period, I was the only one Han Wen was with. Perhaps because of this, when his memories became distorted, he believed he was only ever with the one named Chionare. He forgot about his relationship with me. So, I revealed Yunjin's bloodline to him, making him remember who he truly had been with back then, in a way he could not deny. The panic in her eyes grows even more intense. Isn't it astonishing? That Han Wen, the honorable one who couldn't recover no matter how he was treated. Only then did he come to his senses. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. Drip, drip, drip. Something falls from her eyes. Despite being a puppet body, her consciousness, laden with the intent of sorrow, resonates with the heaven and earth spiritual energy around her, causing blue spiritual energy to flow from the puppet's eyes. And then, he asked me to kill him. He said his entire life had been a marionette puppet show. He begged to be set free and flew into the Dharma treasure I held, impaling himself and taking his own life. I only meant to deal a final blow to Han Wen before I died myself. But somehow, it ended with him committing suicide. I reported to the Grand Cultivator Association that I killed him. To them, Han Wen was tormented by me until the end and then killed. The Pangali Place Lord pitifully taking his own life. I didn't want to say that. She looks up at me with gloomy eyes. But I can tell Lord Divine Spirit, right? Isn't that right? Oh Divine Spirit, who tramples on all our hopes and toys with us. She glares at me, growling with a voice that seems to boil from her very guts. It seems Lord Divine Spirit isn't aware of the wonders that the Golden Divine performed. In truth, at Shattered Heaven Peak, there is an immortal art that can pinpoint the location of disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect and confirm their state of fate. It was kept secret even from the Divine Spirit and hidden until the very end, but it seems Lord Divine Spirit didn't know that. I let out a low groan in response to her words. Where is Myung-hoon right now? And why did you cast him somewhere to leave him with a fate status of being tortured until his personality collapses, while you're cultivating in the astral realm as if in seclusion? It's almost as if. Badudaduk. Yunwei's fingers scrape across the prison floor. After taking spiritual medicine, you're digesting it. Isn't that right? Yunwei grits her teeth and glares up at me. Just how much do you need to toy with us to be satisfied? Just how much? Please tell me. Where has our founder's reincarnation, the hope of the great Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, John Myung-hoon, gone? Heavenly King, Heavenly Domain. Inside the Palace of Radiance. At its center, beneath this seed of light, 8 colossal giants of light appear. Did you feel it? Indeed. All of them simultaneously look somewhere with grave expressions. The great mountain supreme deity RTOC has, in the Heavenly King Heavenly Domain's time, at the time of GIA, vanished. With the sudden disappearance of the great mountain supreme deity, they exchange words while communicating with someplace in an alarmed manner. What should we do? We must immediately lift the seal on the Earth axis Heavenly Domain and observe the inner regions to determine the truth and falsity. Is there a chance this was staged by them? What nonsense. Look at the Immortal Registry, Shanji. In the Immortal Registry created by the owner of names, the light of the great mountain supreme deity, RTOC, has disappeared. RTOC has died. As it stands, the death of the being known as RTOC is beyond question. Regardless, we must observe the truth. Do you even know how much prophecy is consumed to seal the Earth axis heavenly domain and create a new sealing heavenly domain? The longer we delay, the more prophecy will be wasted. Uncovering the truth comes first. Agreed. Even if they somehow succeeded in casting off the name bestowed upon them by High and Go, they would need time to adjust to the loss of the name's power. At this moment, even if we open the gate to the Earth axis heavenly domain, we can sufficiently prevent their escape. However, we must take all necessary precautions, mobilizing the full power of the Radiance Hall as preparation. That way, whatever trick they might have employed, we can reseal them. The colossal beings of light, the Radiance 8 Immortals. After exchanging their views, they finally reach a conclusion. All true immortals of the Radiance Hall, assemble. We will temporarily lift the seal on the Earth axis heavenly domain. They vanish from the Palace of Light in an instant and reach the vicinity of a dimensional entrance beyond the interdimensional void. At the entrance, enormous characters that spell Earth Axis, DU, glow with light, and anchored around those luminous characters, chains vast enough to cover the universe envelop the entire dimension. Behind the Radiance 8 Immortals, hundreds of divine spirits begin to appear one by one. As the Radiance 8 Immortals extend their hands forward in unison, the characters over the entrance to the Earth Axis heavenly domain disperse, and the entrance cracks open, ever so slightly. Though the gap is small, the radiant light emanating from the Radiance 8 Immortals seeps into the Earth Axis heavenly domain, illuminating it completely. Then, as the Radiance 8 Immortals illuminate the entire domain, they shout urgently, in unison, "Reseal it. Great Mountain Supreme Deity has." In the next moment, fifth seat of the Radiance 8 Immortals, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord's manifested incarnation explodes within the domain. Simultaneously, a colossal arm emerges from within the entrance to the Earth Axis heavenly domain. The arm is so enormous that even the incarnations of the Radiance 8 Immortals, each one larger than a fixed star, look like mere bugs in comparison. The arm is a mountain, a gigantic mountain range that takes the form of an arm. And that mountain range, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100 million, trillion, 10 quadrillion, 100 quintillion, septillion, 10 octillion, 100 nonillion, undecillion, 10 duodecillion, 100 tridecillion, quindecillion. It is a mountain range made of corpses as many as the sands of Ganges River, all weeping blood and lying in death. The mountain god, the eminent divine spirit known as the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, begins to exert their power against the forces of light. Ayoa, Kwa, Kuwawaha. The corpses embedded in the body of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity all begin to scream in unison. At the sound of their screams, both the Earth Axis heavenly domain and the Heavenly King heavenly domain shake violently. The Radiance 8 Immortals glare down at the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and growl. So that's it. They deceived us. No, they deceived everyone. They have been preparing this since 40,000 years ago. While everyone was distracted by that being's enthronement, they desecrated fate with a substitute. Do. Released from the seal, the great god draws upon their power and looks up at the Radiance 8 Immortals. Open the way to the audience chamber. Starting with the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, who has just regenerated their incarnation, the Radiance 8 Immortals do not respond to their words. Simply clasping their hands together, they bow their heads slightly towards a point higher than themselves. Glory to the Radiance Supreme Deity. Then, above them, the splendidly resplendent seat of light reveals itself. In the sun and moon heavenly domain, Han One realized the truth of Yun Wei's sincerity and chose to rush at her, embracing death. In the Heavenly King heavenly domain, the Radiance 8 Immortals mistakenly believed that the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, R.A. Xion, had died and opened the gate to the Earth Axis heavenly domain. In the Earth Axis heavenly domain, the Great Mountain Supreme Deity deceived everyone, emerging from their confinement. Thus, the entire heavenly domain began to tremble. TL note: as many as the Ganges River sands can also mean 10 sextillion. Bridal has the meaning of restricting the freedom of people/livestock, but also protecting them. Chapter 490, Eve of the End, Zhong Chinyet. 1. Chapter 490, Eve of the End, Zhong. Clank. Oh, esteemed one, what has happened? Just what is? Covered in bruises, I step out of Yun Wei's holding cell. Don't worry about it. Today's events will be kept under wraps. I emerge from Yun Wei's confinement room, bruised all over. Wong using my heart essence, I manipulate my heart essence avatar, restoring its bruised and damaged body back to its original state. Just moments ago, I released Yun Wei and sealed both of our spiritual power, internal energy, consciousness, intent, immortal art, all weapons, and martial techniques, and fought with bare fists. Yunwei was able to use her puppet's special abilities, so the fist fight between us was fairly intense. Without going that far, no words would have reached her. Her panic was that severe. After that, I spent quite some time explaining the truth to her. Golden Shaking Bird, the matured thunder beast created by Golden Divine Yang Sujin. The connection between the lightning sacred sea and Golden Shaking Bird. Her plans. Sacred Master Baek Woon's descent, and how, through her, Golden Shaking Bird kidnapped John Myung-hoon. And how, to rescue John Myung-hoon, I'm even working with a vile entity born from the Blood-Ean realm. That, given just 10,000 years, I am certain I will be able to save John Myung-hoon. I explained all of this after a long bout of exchanging punches with her. I don't know if Yunwei accepted it. I deliberately avoided checking her intent and heart essence. For the truth I could reveal, I conveyed to her with all my sincerity. Now, accepting it is her part. Han 1. I hate Han 1. The fall of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect was partly due to that bastard. Just thinking about Han 1 makes me want to immediately beat him to death on the spot. However, killing him was, at the very least, Yunwei's right. Not him recklessly rushing in and killing himself like that. I'm sorry, Yunwei. Right now, all I can do is just this much. With that thought, I disperse the Heart Essence Avatar and prepare to return my consciousness to the astral realm. Keying. At that moment, my Heart Essence Avatar is suddenly at the White Jade Pavilion on Heavenly Lotus Mountain in the bright cold realm. I stand before Sacred Master Baek Woon's throne, and I am not alone. The other esteemed ones of the bright cold realm. Heaven collapsing Esteemed 1 Jang Ik. Opening Heaven Esteemed 1 Wool Jin. Trampling Heaven Esteemed 1 Ham Rak. Slaughtering Heaven Esteemed 1 Guk Guang. Final Heaven Esteemed 1 Jin Wolraya. Safe Heaven Esteemed 1 GWI Ro. R. And recently risen to the realm of Esteemed 1 and acknowledged as such by the Sacred Master, Kim Young-hoon. The 8 esteemed ones of the bright cold realm have all gathered in one place. All the esteemed ones, except for Jang Ik and Kim Young-hoon, prostrate themselves to the Sacred Master from where they stand. We pay our respects to the Sacred Master, Jang Ik, Kim Young-hoon, and I merely pay respects within the bounds of not being rude. Sacred Master Baek Woon waves her hand and speaks. That's enough. This is not the time for empty formalities. I'll get straight to the point. First, take a deep breath and prepare yourselves for the shock of the wisdom I'm about to reveal. At the Sacred Master's words, the esteemed ones murmur among themselves briefly before making preparations. Kim Young-hoon looks slightly bewildered as if not sure what to expect, but Jang Ik and I each explain to him a method to prepare oneself when facing higher beings. What on earth is she planning to show us? I harden my heart, using the ultimate sense of calm to clear my heart. Baek Woon scans the room and says, "It seems everyone is ready. In that case, I will tell you. In this world, there are beings called governing immortals who oversee the entire world." The esteemed ones gathered in the White Jade Pavilion collapse to the floor simultaneously, vomiting blood like lava or heaven and earth spiritual energy. Even I, who built up some resistance, feel my head buzzing after hearing those words after so long. The one most affected, however, is Kim Young-hoon. Lacking almost any resistance to the concept of such beings, he bleeds from his 7 orifices, collapses to the floor trembling, and nearly faints, foaming at the mouth. Jang Ik and I use our sub-heart sword and Padao to stimulate his heart essence, helping him regain a bit of senses, but it is clear that he is struggling to adapt to the shock of the wisdom he has just received. She waits until we've somewhat recovered before she resumes speaking. And, among these governing immortals, the governing immortal known as the Mountain God and the governing immortal known as the Owner of Light are currently in the midst of a confrontation. A confrontation took place a few hundred years ago as well, and back then, it ended in the Light's victory. I recall a few hundred years ago in the world's timeline, around the 19th cycle of my regression, when the world's light dimmed for a moment and the mountain's spirit veins trembled for a moment. So that's it. Then, the reason such a phenomenon occurred across the entire world back then was because the great mountain supreme deity clashed with the light. At that moment, this is, my heavens, what on earth is happening? It is currently daytime, and yet, suddenly, the light across the entire world dims. The sun loses its light, and a sky full of stars appears above. It doesn't end there. Gee, the stars in the sky, too, suddenly begin to lose their light. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Along with this, the spirit vein of the heavenly lotus great mountain where we stand begins to rampage wildly, shaking violently. Ka-do-do-do-do. Earthquakes spread across the entire bright cold realm. Volcanoes erupt in various places, and anything in the form of piled earth either collapses or begins to shake. Heavenly Lotus Great Mountain nearly crumbles as well, but with Baek Woon and all of us exerting our strength, we manage to keep the mountain stable. And a little while later, the strange phenomenon from moments ago fades away, and the sky returns to its normal daylight state. The trembling of the mountain ceases as well, but I can feel it. The mountain's spirit vein has weakened, and the light of the sky remains dim. Slaughtering heaven, Esteemed One, Guk Guang asks in a hopeful voice. It seems light has returned. Then, doesn't that mean that mountain, or whatever, has been defeated? Has it been sealed away again like a few hundred years ago? It appears that Guk Guang, having heard much from Sacred Master Baekwon, seems to know quite a bit. The other Esteemed Ones show expressions of joy at the words, but I feel a sense of unease. That great mountain supreme deity got sealed away this easily. The nightmare of that time still lingers in my mind, when they, with just a single phenomena extinguishing mantra, compressed the entire universe to annihilation using a mere projection, not even their main body. It makes no sense. The light is still weakened, and the mountain's spirit vein is also weakened. Could it be? Cautiously, I voice my speculation. Could it be that the two gods are still fighting? Both the light and the mountain's energy seem to be a bit weak. At my conjecture, Guk Guang retorts angrily. You faithless wretch! You dare doubt the great light? And yet you are the light's Devitt. Silence. Baekwon speaks, her expression tense. At her words, Guk Guang clamps their mouth shut, and all the Esteemed Ones focus their attention on Baekwon. Baekwon seems to be observing something, gazing intently at the sky. I've heard that Sacred Master's foresight, by drawing on the power of the middle realm itself, can be comparable to that of a true immortal, but it seems she might be directly observing the battlefield of the deities beyond the sun and moon heavenly domain. Even if it's not to that extent, she might be able to calculate the celestial energy with the middle realm's power and read the situation on the battlefield. Just what is happening right now in the other heavenly domains. It's when we are all gripped with anxiety. Tremble, 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 tremble. Like an aspen tree, Sacred Master Baekwon begins to tremble like mad. Then, she shouts in a voice filled with terror. Hear me, all Esteemed Ones. Hear me, all Sacred Masters. Hear me, all true persons. Even you, Bloodine, listen. Seeing, I can feel her putting all her power into projecting her voice, making it resonate across the entire universe. The great mountain supreme deity has escaped from the grasp of the Radiance supreme deity. They are heading somewhere. The sun and moon heavenly domain will be annihilated. Everyone prepare for destruction. Knowing the terror of the great mountain supreme deity, I scream as my eyes roll back in panic. Immediately make that evacuation space, or whatever it is. Immediately. Do. Astral realm. My half-crazed main body shoves the entire Mingyan star, where Kong Min He is located, into an alternate space created by my attraction force, then frantically prepares to ascend to the bright cold realm. We're ascending. Seo Ran, Hong Fan, prepare yourselves. I surrender my body to the attraction force of the bright cold realm and quickly ascend my main body towards it. Since piercing through the path of ascension takes quite some time, my original plan was to just head to an astral realm area close to the bright cold realm and enter from there. But now is not the time to worry about such things. I smash through all the star-shattering stage vestiges rushing towards me and ascend to the bright cold realm in an instant. W8, Hong Fan. I left Hong Fan in the astral. Damn it. I'm sorry, Hong Fan. I realize I hadn't brought Hong Fan along, but there's no time to dwell on that now. In an instant, I summon my comrades towards me using attraction force, and while in my combat technique form, I pull them all into my embrace and shout, I love you, all of you. You have all been connections more than I deserve. For all this time, everyone has truly been undeserved connections in my life. Sacred Master Baekwon, with light drained from her eyes, leans lifelessly against her throne, while the Esteemed Ones who are still unable to grasp the situation are yelling frantically at her to do at least something. And then, 5 faint projections appear in the white jade pavilion. From each of those presences, I sense the aura of ancient force, aura of true devil, aura of nether ghost, aura of purple gold. Because I have built the 5 blessings axes, I can perceive them clearly. And from the final projection, as I feel the aura from that last projection, I recoil with goosebumps. Be Bloodine. I cannot forget. The vicious true immortal who killed me hundreds of times. It is the presence of Bloodine. As I stand there in shock, the projection imbued with the aura of ancient force speaks. Everyone, thank you for your hard work. It has been a good life. I recognize who he is. It's Sacred Master Hei Lin of the ancient force realm. Bloodyian's presence and Hei Lin's voice. Then these people must be. It seems they are the sacred masters from the other middle realms. Baekwon's body also glows, as if she has also sent her projection to other middle realms. Baekwon speaks. We're all going to die in such an absurd way, but it was an enjoyable life in its own right. Those tall tree race sapling brats trying to spread their pollen as well was enjoyable in its own way. Of course, back when I was young and undergoing the sacred vessel advancement ritual, I really wanted to exterminate them, but somehow, I grew fond of them over time. Hey Lin, I remember helping you with your sacred vessel advancement as well. I remember clearly when I received assistance from the Distinguished One. Banta, to think that the young sacred vessel is still holding the sacred master position. Kiki, honestly, I still have no idea what you're thinking. And Bloodine, to you. I have so many things to say, but since we're about to die, I'll keep it to one. It's not as if you are truly unaware of who you are, so stop being so disgraceful. Her last words come to an end. Banta, the sacred master of the purple gold realm, opens their mouth. If I had known it would come to this, I wouldn't have advanced to the sacred vessel stage back then. In 500,000 years, I don't know what happened, but not a single worthwhile successor has shown up. These parasite purple gold realm esteemed one bastards. If I had known it would come to this, regardless of whether the living creatures of the purple gold realm are screwed or not, regardless of whether the purple gold heavenly lord's vestige appears and shatters the entire sun and moon heavenly domain to pieces or not, I would have just lived doing whatever I wanted. For some reason, they seem to have quite a few regrets. Then, Yuo opens her mouth. All is according to the will of the Imperial Venerable. They are at work among us. Her words are brief. Just as Baekwoon is a devotee of the light, Yuo seems to be a devotee of the heavenly venerable of the underworld. Among the sacred masters, the sacred master of the true devil realm, Ja-eum, speaks last. I look at Ja-eum and now understand where the first sea dragon king who appeared in the ancient force realm has been all this time. So, he became the sacred master of the true devil realm. Ja-eum hesitates for a moment, then looks to the sky. Has that tyrannical god broken through the encirclement of light? Given the obvious place they always targeted, it seems the sun and moon heavenly domain will soon be finished. Ho ho! He lets out a brief, hearty laugh. Then Jai-eum turns to the projection of Blood-een and opens his mouth. Ho ho! Blood-een, you pathetic immortal. All this time you've been disgracefully trying to reclaim your honor by throwing a fit, and this is all that it amounts to in the end. To use as a protective charm in case of emergency, you created Hien-eum as a reserve body. But then, terrified of that black dragon, who once couldn't even dare look at you how T's heel, might come to intervene, you created the sea dragon race to escape from the possibility of black dragon. If you were truly the former chief judge, you wouldn't have cared in the slightest what some black dragon does. The very fact that you resorted to such actions is a perfect demonstration that you're not the former chief judge at all. If you were truly Yu Hao Te, there would have been an uproar, with the underworld rushing to receive you, with the Radiance Hall vying to invite you, and with third-party forces clamoring to welcome you. Doesn't this prove just how utterly moronic your conduct is? Please stop wallowing in the delusion of past glory and take a good look at reality. Were you pleased? For shedding the name given by Lofty Dragon and Seum through Hien-eum and me, creating a reserve body for emergencies, and even as a sacrificial offering in one, and even using me meticulously and frugally to put the true devil realm under your control. Though I am no heavenly immortal, I dare prophesize this. Even if the tyrannical god does not descend, your own deeds will eventually strangle around your neck. If you ever get another chance, I sincerely hope you live properly this time. Ho ho, how refreshing. It feels like my chest has been completely cleared. Ho ho. At the words of the true devil realm, sacred Mater Ja-eum, the other sacred masters, the esteemed ones of the bright cold realm, Baekwoon, and myself. All of us, even Blood-een, stare at Ja-eum with dumbfounded expressions. Ja-eum, that guy, wasn't he supposed to be just a fragment or puppet of Blood-een? Who would have thought he held such a deep-seated resentment against Blood-een, who is practically the main body? Then, Blood-een's projection opens its mouth. I only wanted to witness the Imperial Venerable's workings once again from that right-hand seat. That was all. They, too, seem to have much more to say, but after speaking plainly, they simply dispel their projection and vanish from the hall. In my incarnation, I bid my final farewells to the other esteemed ones inside the white jade pavilion, and in my main body, I tightly embrace my comrades and tell them I love them without restraint. Thus, the great mountain supreme deity descends, and the sun and moon heavenly domain meets its end. Or so I thought. Sacred Master Baekwoon. What? Pardon me for asking, but when exactly are we supposed to be annihilated? Baekwoon, seeming slightly flustered, reads the celestial energy. The celestial energy is too disrupted by the battlefield of the gods to read any further. Even I do not know. Just why? Is the sun and moon heavenly domain not being annihilated? After trying for a while to read the celestial energy, Baekwoon lets out a deep sigh and speaks. For now, there's nothing more I can discern. In a few days, The gods I serve will provide a response. At that time, I'll submit a detailed inquiry and deliver their answer." At those words, I and the esteemed ones around me let out a sigh of relief. At the very least, Sacred Master Baekwon's statement of a few days could be taken as a certified time frame. The interdimensional void between the Heavenly King Heavenly Domain and the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. There, traces of a colossal battle remain. The bodies of countless divine spirits are shattered, drifting in pieces throughout the interdimensional void, and the Radiance 8 immortals at the center are trembling, flickering as though they might extinguish at any moment. The seed of light that was once above them is nowhere to be seen. The Radiance 8 immortals are all trembling, as if humiliated. Cunning one. To feign directly entering the audience chamber, only to sharply change course. We had no idea their hidden power was this much. Weren't they nearly comparable to Prime Vast Cold, Obsidian, and Silver Basket? There's no need for concern. Unlike those monsters, that one's power is consumable. Indeed, the more they expend that corpse mountain blood sea they accumulated, the more their strength will wane unless they have a stronger sacrifice. Such are the limits of the devil god's power. When the time comes, we'll capture them. After facing us, there's no way they'll be able to immediately find a powerful sacrifice. Let us wait for the right moment. It is then. A messenger from the Radiance Hall comes rushing towards them. A true person, in the form of a bird, swiftly flies over and delivers urgent news. Oh great gods! The tyrannical mountain has appeared in the Horse Ear Heavenly Domain. They are making contact with the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. Upon hearing this, the Radiance 8 immortals tremble as if struck by lightning and release a furious roar. Their rage-filled shout seems to reverberate across the entire 3,000 great thousand worlds. Prison of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. The imprisonment dimension, Horse Ear Heavenly Domain, Martinu. In front of the Heavenly Domain that appears as a prison made of light, a colossal great mountain that seems to crush the entire universe appears. The great mountain seems to be communicating with the entity inside the Horse Ear Heavenly Domain. Cosmic voices and signals seem to pass back and forth between the inside and outside of the Heavenly Domain. After a moment, the domineering great mountain bellows in anger. DEFEATEDEOFTHEERAWYOURDECAYBETERNAL. Then, a reply comes from within the Horse Ear Heavenly Domain. Hearing the return message, the great mountain supreme deity begins to tremble. It is a tremor mixed with rage. INTHATCASE. Do-do-do-do-do. The entire Horse Ear Heavenly Domain begins to shake. The great mountain supreme deity raises their hand. The imprisonment dimension that seals the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity begins to gradually compress. BECRUSHEDWITHEHEVENDEFEATEDOFFATE. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Along with the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, the entire Horse Ear Heavenly Domain begins to crumple and be destroyed. Then, before that great mountain, a white-haired woman appears. This woman, whose face cannot be seen, is dressed neatly and wears flower-patterned shoes. She bows to the great mountain supreme deity and speaks. Arrogant and savage tyrant, my lord will not come to an end. As if the words of a bug aren't even worth hearing, the great mountain supreme deity pays her no mind, focusing entirely on obliterating the owner of heavenly punishment along with the entire dimension. Their dream has already been passed on. Their prophecy will never end. They will not be devoured as a defeated one, like your master. In the next moment, the white-haired woman, Zhengli, is torn limb from limb. As if thoroughly crushing a bug to death, she is tortured before the great mountain supreme deity, repeatedly dying and resurrecting by the 100 millions, until finally, her entire body is shredded into pieces. Quadadudaduck. And at last, having compressed the entire Horse Ear Heavenly Domain, the great mountain supreme deity swallows the compacted heavenly domain. Boom. Kwa Wawaza. Yuwug. Aarg. From the mountain of corpses beneath them, lava-like blood tears burst forth, accompanied by the most agonizing screams ever heard. At the same time, dark red lightning seems to seethe and overflow around the great mountain. The great mountain supreme deity looks down upon the entirety of Mount Sumeru with an air of indifference and begins to draw forth their power. SHALLWEBEGINTHESUPREMEDEITYHUNT. The fate of the entire 3,000 great thousand worlds begins to shake. Chapter 491, Eve of the End, Zhongorth Jinyet. 2. Chapter 491, Eve of the End, Zhong. Hearing from Sacred Master Baekwon that the great mountain supreme deity had escaped the clutches of light, we all prepared for annihilation. 10 days have passed since then. White Jade Pavilion, at the summit of Heavenly Lotus Mountain in the bright cold realm. The esteemed ones of the bright cold realm are gathered before it, waiting. Pat it. A light descends from the sky, illuminating the White Jade Pavilion. It is the beings who govern the light delivering a revelation to Baekwon. How long have we waited in front of it? Pot. The light fades, and Baekwon's voice transmission comes out from within. Enter. Pot. In an instant, we are back inside the White Jade Pavilion. Sacred Master, what on earth is going on? Is the sun and moon heavenly domain facing the end? As I recall the nightmare of that time when the supreme deity of the great mountain wreaked havoc, I feel cold sweat trickling down my back. Baekwon shakes her head. No, I have just received a revelation. Currently, the tyrannical divine spirit is, in the distant elephant nose heavenly domain and waging war against its owner there. Not only that, but it seems they intend to wage war against the owners of other heavenly domains as well. Just what on earth are you doing, great mountain? I click my tongue in disbelief at their outrageous behavior and continue with my question. Then, what will happen to us? The divine spirits have given me a revelation. They say that for the tyrannical divine spirit to reach the sun and moon heavenly domain again, they would only do so after finishing the wars with the owners of other heavenly domain first. And since the owners of heavenly domains are by no means insignificant, it is predicted that this will take tens of thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years. In that case, all that awaits us is the natural end for now. It seems there won't be the sudden end brought about by the great mountain supreme deity. Just then, as those words leave Baekwon's mouth, it feels as though the entire world has begun to rumble. Simultaneously, shadows that I hadn't even realized were present in this place shoot up into the void and vanish. This is, noticing the tremor that shook the world and the shadows that disappeared, I click my tongue in realization. Sacred masters, true persons, or beings of a comparable level. Were they hiding here to hear the revelation Baekwon received from the light? And that tremor just now. The middle realms are colliding. Baekwon clicks her tongue regretfully, gazing off somewhere beyond the bright cold realm. The Bloodine realm is on the move, colliding with the true devil realm with full force. It seems they are trying to force their way into the true devil realm. Jia is desperately holding a defensive front against Bloodine. As soon as we hear this, we all offer our condolences towards Jia. To say such things right in front of Bloodine. As far as I know, the sacred master of the true devil realm was originally a lackey of the Bloodine realm. Now I see, they weren't at the level of a lackey but a split body. But for a split body to be so independent that they would dare say such things to the main body. What a pitiful person. Well, I suppose they thought the world was going to be destroyed, so they said whatever they wanted. Who would have guessed it wouldn't end? The esteemed ones each click their tongues, offering their condolences to the pitiful Jia, and I too click my tongue inwardly. He lacked caution. Or was it just bad luck? Anyone familiar with the great mountain's temperament wouldn't be surprised if the world ended right away. But who could have known it wouldn't? Though it's possible for an existence at the peak of true immortality to distort the celestial energy, so one can't foresee the future. RTOC. A split body harbors a different heart from its main body. Not just any different heart, but a rebellious heart. The issue isn't simply that he unleashed wild fury in front of Bloodine. For Bloodine, Jia must have been both an agent of their will and a split body. They likely never imagined Jia would harbor such treachery. But now that they discovered it, they have probably opened the true devil realm and are trying to retrieve Jia. Honestly, until now, I've still harbored a lingering fear of Bloodine. Though they suffered a fatal wound from the sword spear Heavenly Lord, they are still a true immortal. I've been afraid that they might descend at any moment and attempt to capture me again. On top of that, after learning about the prophecy used by true immortals during the star-shattering stage, I realized that, in fact, I still haven't escaped Bloodine's prophecy. The prophecy of Bloodine that says we will meet again has not yet been broken. No, to be more precise, Bloodine's prophecy isn't merely we will meet again within 100 years. After reading and analyzing the celestial energy at the star-shattering stage, I discovered the fate they assigned to me was, we will meet again within 100 years, and I will experience death at Bloodine's hands. The part of the prophecy stating, we will meet again within 100 years has already been fulfilled. However, the part stating, I will experience death at Bloodine's hands has not yet been realized, and as long as I remain bound by this prophecy, there's still a chance that Bloodine would pursue me. I originally intended to seek help through Kong Minhee, but Kong Minhee is currently undergoing the Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual, so I won't be able to rely on that kind of assistance. Therefore, for a while, I plan to hole up in the astral realm and lay low for several thousand years. However, It seems I can let go of my worries regarding Bloodine for a while. Perhaps until they retrieve the sacred master Jai from the true devil realm, their focus will remain solely on him. I breathe a sigh of relief and prepare to release Mengyun Star from the alternate space into the middle realm. For the inhabitants of Mengyun Star to have suddenly ascended to the bright cold realm, there is probably no greater benefit. But then, Baekwon's voice echoes in my ears. Co Eunhyun, I will return you and the star you brought back to its original place in the astral realm. Pardon? Why is that? There are 3 reasons. The first is that too much fate has flowed in. She continues her explanation. As the sacred master of the middle realm, I must regulate the attraction force and the environment here. If too many beings flood in all at once, there will be too much attraction force to manage across the entire middle realm. Normally, it wouldn't be an issue, but with all the preparations I must undertake for the end that will come in 10,000 years, I can't afford to handle such a burden. Kugugugugu. The dimension of the bright cold realm opens wide, and a passage leading to the astral realm appears before my eyes. Baekwon is telling me to take Mengyun Star and descend again to the lower realms. Second, while it concerns the middle realm, the fact that you took a star from the astral realm is also an issue. Though there is no immediate problem, by removing a star connected to star veins, you've caused all the stars in the astral realm to be shaken. Of course, from a macroscopic perspective, that level of shaking probably won't have any impact on the universe. Honestly, I don't see that kind of trembling as a major problem either. However, as I listen to her continuing words, I realize how serious it is to recklessly move stars, even though the situation was urgent. The faint vibrations connected to the star veins would be an unimaginable disaster by the standards of ordinary living beings. What seems like a minor tremor to us would feel like a catastrophe sweeping through the entire universe to beings without a spirit vein. Minor earthquakes and tidal waves will occur on countless stars, and innumerable living beings will die. Not that it matters to me. But you seem to be particularly meddlesome among the esteemed ones, so I'm telling you in advance to prevent you from getting entangled in heart demons. Then, if I return the star to its original orbit, can the disaster be averted? That's right. If you return that star to the astral realm, it will naturally reconnect with the star veins and reabsorb the minor tremors. Of course, the surface of that star will be completely overturned, but you should be able to protect the life forms from at least that much. I am grateful for the advice. That said, if adjusting stars affects the entire network of star veins across the universe, then wouldn't it be problematic if esteemed ones destroyed stars or ascended to the bright cold realm? Esteemed ones are fine. When esteemed ones ascend to the middle realms, they can do so while remaining connected to the star veins. And as for the stars you destroy, they don't disappear entirely upon being smashed. A faint remnant of the star veins lingers, so it will gradually disappear without disrupting the workings of the universe. Thank you for your guidance. However, if Sacred Master's goal was to persuade me, one piece of advice would have been enough. The fact that Sacred Master mentioned 3 points must mean that all 3 are important. What is the third? Wawum. As I feel the bright cold realm gradually pushing me back to the astral realm, I ask, Pat it. A projection of Baekwon appears before my eyes. She looks back and forth between me, who is being pushed out, and the Mengyun Star, which is gradually emerging from the alternate space. The compressed Mengyun Star is slowly expanding, and she gently caresses it, as if softly stroking the star. The last is for the sake of a junior undergoing the Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual. Advancement rituals for the Sacred Vessel stage are typically avoided in the vicinity of other sacred vessels. The reason is that if the ritual takes place within the influence of another Sacred Vessel cultivator's attraction force, they inevitably affect each other. This child's mind will be influenced by mine, and my mind will be affected by this child's as well. Baekwon withdraws her hand from caressing the Mengyun Star and continues speaking. This 3,000 great thousand worlds. For those exalted ones who are true immortals and above, this entire world that is called Mount Sumeru is largely divided into 2 major forces. The faction symbolizing life, called light, and the faction symbolizing death, called the underworld. While there are other forces outside the 2, they are all relatively minor forces. As you know, I am a saint of light from one of the 2 principal factions. Not a saintess? Call it whichever you like. Honestly, among the tall tree race, there are far more without a strict division of male and female, and starting from esteemed ones, such distinctions are practically meaningless. Regardless, I am a being faithful to the force of light, and the child undergoing the advancement ritual right now seems to be directly supported by the underworld. That's true. That's why I'm helping. Aren't the 2 factions in a competitive relationship? Is it really alright to help? Baekwon nods. I don't know how those above view it, but this is what I think. Life and death cannot be dismissed as a simple rivalry. They are essential to each other. Even if those above clash, and perhaps someday, Their conflict reaches us, and we are forced to fight. Until that time comes, I believe we can continue to give and receive, because we are necessary to each other. With those words, she sends Kong Min-hee and me back to the astral realm where we originally were. A relationship of mutual necessity. Even if they are opposing forces, they are necessary to each other. I realize that her words contain a profound insight. No, Master, couldn't you have brought me along? Hong Fan, who had been left behind at the outskirts of the star system and missed following me as I ascended, appears with a slight grumble. I apologize to him and return the Mingyun star to its original orbit. Well, I get it for now. By the way, Master. What is it? I have completed the interpretation of the entire formula for the flawless mantra, as well as the flow of its attraction force. Master should be able to grasp it now. Thank you. I received the formula and training method for the flawless mantra from Hong Fan. However, upon looking at the training method, I find myself utterly dumbfounded, unable to even consider beginning such training. The ideal way to cultivate requires reincarnating at least 666 times and standing upside down while chanting the mantra for 666 lifetimes until death. Is that truly the method? The first time I heard about the flawless mantra was from Yu-Oh, during an explanation about the entity called Obsidian. It was said that Obsidian had cultivated in this manner through 777 reincarnations. So what Kong Min-hee is practicing must be a simplified version. In any case, it's clear that cultivating this mantra requires living upside down nearly the entire day. I ponder as I cultivate my incarnation, which has achieved the grand perfection Earth axis stage, having nurtured the axis seeds over the past 100 years atop my main body. Should I give it a try? Since the full practice is nearly impossible for me right now, I'll attempt the simplified training. Womb. I invert the incarnation above my main body and have it begin chanting the flawless mantra. For the first year, there is no effect whatsoever. But as time passes, the flawless mantra gradually begins to shake external attraction force. What is this? The more I train in the flawless mantra, the more it feels like a perfect fit for me. Among everything I've learned so far, it's even easier to learn than devilish arts like summoning wind, dragon transformation, or great desert to Dead Sea. It feels as if this mantra was prepared just for me. I continue reciting the flawless mantra, immersing myself in a trance and sinking deeper into it. I endlessly repeat the flawless mantra, feeling as though I am sinking into a cozy darkness, like the inside of my mother's womb. One day, something strange happens. As I chant the flawless mantra, I find myself staring into an endless, boundless darkness. Peering into that darkness, a thought crosses my mind. Is this the source of the flawless mantra's power? Then, the darkness responds. Yes, it's cozy. Crossover. If you do, you will feel an even greater warmth and comfort. Is this the true cultivation method for the flawless mantra? To cross over fully into this darkness. Exactly so. This is a cultivation method meant solely for you enders. Drawing a circle is a method meant only for the ordinary. You, however, need only entrust your heart to this darkness. Circle. I don't have to draw. That circle? That terrible circle? I feel my mind sinking deeper into the darkness. Yes, drawing the circle is too exhausting. Just think of that terrifying, sacred, and ominous circle. How exhausting it is. Let's just entrust everything to that comforting darkness. I sink further into the darkness, completely letting go of my consciousness. Immortal cultivation is repentant enlightenment. For some reason, I find myself muttering that formula, like tiny grains of salt gathering. The phenomena extinguishing mantra sprouts within me. Simultaneously, I snap my eyes open. How many years have I been cultivating the mantra in this trance-like state? I see. Using the senses of the Earth axis, I read my history and calculate how many years have passed. Already, it has been 8,000 years since John Myung-hoon was captured. During that time, I have been cultivating the flawless mantra in a state of trance. Around me float the heavenly rain great star, heavenly clearing great star, heavenly cloudiness great star, heavenly want of connection great star, and heavenly crossing great star that I all unconsciously formed while cultivating the flawless mantra. I have reached the late star-shattering stage. I see, but rather than that, I am overcome with a volcanic surge of emotion at having grasped the true meaning of the flawless mantra. Phenomena extinguishing mantra. Pat it. The surrounding heaven and earth spiritual energy converges into yin-yang 5 elements, forming a single point before me. The single point turns into a pure white light that illuminates the cosmic space. Flawless mantra. At the same time, attractive force trembles, drawing a circle of darkness around that single point. A circle of darkness, a point of light. Together, they form a wheel. This is axle, chogo, and wheel, shung. Together, they combine to create a completed wheel. The starting point, to saving Kong Mini, 8,000 years. After 8,000 years in this state of trance, I have finally obtained a starting point to rescue Kong Minhee. Chapter 492, Eve of the End, Zhongmo Qingyet. 3. Chapter 492, Eve of the End, Zhong. I see a path. The path is vast and wide, and it seems that by following this path, I will surely achieve everything I desire. But the path is hidden. Therefore, this is not a path that can be taken carelessly by just anyone. I reach out towards a certain wall that blocks this path. From my hand, a point of pure white light and a circle of darkness seem to appear before gently opening the wall that blocks the path. The wall becomes a door through which I can enter, and I gaze at the door. So this is minor completion. I look back. Having reached minor completion, a brief reprieve should be granted. But after this brief reprieve, I must enter that door, where time that has been compressed as long as eternity awaits. Will I be able to enter? I am afraid. But if I walk this path to the conclusion, before the end, I can grasp at least the faintest starting point to achieve everything and save John Myung-hoon, Kong Minhee, and the now silent Kim Yeon. I briefly look beyond the path, stealing my heart. Let's go. After a fleeting moment of reprieve, I shall return and seize everything within my grasp. Because my desires are so vast. To obtain them, I must pay the price. And so, in this fleeting reprieve before walking the path, I raise my consciousness to see the faces I long for. Wai Yang, Ma. I briefly look around in a daze, then snap to my senses at the sound of a familiar voice. Master, Hong Fan, is that you? My mind is a bit muddled. I can hardly believe that I've been cultivating for 8,000 years, and I wonder how much the world has changed in that time. Simultaneously, I remember what I have done over the past 8,000 years. I feel a bit hazy. I gather my scattering mind. Reciting the phenomena extinguishing mantra inwardly, my scattered mind gradually seems to come together, bringing back my reason. For 8,000 years, yes, I was definitely reciting the flawless mantra, taking one step after another into the darkness. It felt as though something beyond the darkness had spoken to me, saying that if I quickly crossed over the darkness, I could achieve great completion in the flawless mantra in an instant. But then, why couldn't I reach great completion after 8,000 years? As I ponder, I let out a small exclamation. I see. At the same time I was reciting the flawless mantra, I repentantly enlightened myself through the phenomena extinguishing mantra. While engaging in self-repentant enlightenment, I endlessly traced a circle within my heart, following the standard cultivation method of the flawless mantra. At times, I seemed to hear a voice from a distant place, urging me onward, but I ignored it and continued to cultivate the flawless mantra in the standard way, advancing slowly yet steadily towards the darkness. As I cultivated in the flawless mantra, fleeting thoughts crossed my mind that it might be better to quickly cross into the darkness to obtain the ultimate authority. But each time that happened, the formula of the phenomena extinguishing mantra helped me. Immortal cultivation is repentant enlightenment. Like tiny grains of salt gathering to form the sea, build mountains through repentant enlightenment. Endlessly repeating that aphorism, I search for myself over and over again within the circle. Of course, such a process is not strictly necessary for cultivating in the flawless mantra. In a way, it was an unnecessary and meaningless action. Perhaps it was because I repeated that meaningless action countless times that it took me 8,000 years to get this far. But it's fine. There is no need to forcibly approach that boundless darkness. With just my own power alone, I have already. Ying, Hong Fan, Yi Thiring. Look, the flawless mantra. Having reached minor completion, the wheel is turning. The wheel formed by the phenomena extinguishing mantra and the flawless mantra rotates above me. No, to be precise, it rotates above us. By now, after 8,000 years of reciting the flawless mantra, I've instinctively reached the very end of the mid-shattering stage. I've come to the realm of forming 5 stars. In other words, the wheel is rotating above the star system where we reside, and it is gradually growing larger. I can feel it. My mind circulates through all 5 worlds, reincarnating Ungui. I see. Back when I created the Sumeru sword dance, I only understood the phenomenon of my mind reaching the immortal domain by drawing a circle, but I couldn't comprehend the reason itself. But now, I feel I understand. My mind spanning across the 5 worlds, and drawing a circle in that state. That is, in itself, one of the methods of rising to the immortal domain. The interdimensional void, source river, eastern heaven flower field, and the underworld. These 4 dimensions are all related to death, and the astral realm is a dimension related to life. I understand where the nascent soul stage cultivation and the 4-axis stage, heterodox axis foundation, originates from. Everything in this world possesses a soul, even each and every one of my cells. And while my soul, which has a ego, goes to the underworld. My cells or keratin that have no such ego, or things like clothes or swords, return to the source river after death. The existence known as me gets broken down after entering the domain of death, and in the eastern heaven flower field, everything is rearranged and reincarnated. We, in fact, already possess the attraction force towards all worlds. It's just that after death, my very existence gets disassembled, rearranged, and divided. However, what if I could fully span across all 5 worlds as myself? A single world alone cannot completely hold the complete me, and the attraction force of the next world gradually grows stronger. From the underworld to the source river, from the source river to the eastern heaven flower field, from the eastern heaven flower field to the interdimensional void, and from the interdimensional void back to the underworld. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to follow this order, but in any case, existence itself circulates around the astral realm as the center, revolving through the 4 worlds and drawing a circle. This is a simplified form of experiencing reincarnation. And while undergoing this simplified experience of reincarnation within the world, my mind rises above the reincarnation. This is precisely the principle behind elevating my consciousness to the immortal domain through the Sumru sword dance. Master, please, come to your senses. You must not turn the wheel. That path invites unimaginable suffering. Please, Master, hear my words and wake up. Hong Fan's voice faintly reaches me. Hong Fan. I smile warmly towards Hong Fan. A smile spreads across the face of my incarnation created for the late star, shattering stage cultivation. Ah, I see. So that's how it is. The 5 stars, all uniformly formed of crystal, now naturally aligned to form a single constellation. The colorless sword mountain treading sea great star, which once was a great star, Dashing, has now transformed into a great star enclosure, Dashing. The constellation of the colorless sword mountain treading sea great star. Colorless sword mountain treading sea great star enclosure. Just as the domains of the golden core in the core formation stage are called Supreme Palace Enclosure, Purple Forbidden Enclosure, and Heavenly Market Enclosure, I have become the master of the colorless sword mountain treading sea great star enclosure. In short, the owner of the colorless sword enclosure. To cultivate repeatedly to become a constellation in the sky. This is the essence of cultivation in the star-shattering stage. At the same time, I gradually approach the plane of fate. I realize that the domain known as the heavens no longer feels distant. Soon, I might just reach the plane of fate. No, even now, with the all-heavens sword, it feels like I can interfere with the plane of fate far easier than before. The problem is that I can't bring myself to hold a sword in my hand after witnessing Hien GWI's dance. It is now, everyone. Now that Master has somewhat regained his senses, we must awaken him fully. If not, once that immortal art activates. While I am lost in various thoughts, Hong Fan is noisily shouting something while looking at the wheel I have raised. Around me, the esteemed ones of the bright cold realm, and my comrades, who have all reached the level of esteemed ones before I knew it, come into view. Kim Young-hoon has fully risen to void shattering, and Oh Hyun-suk, somehow or another, seems to have succeeded in containing the power of a star within himself. And Kim Yun, who knows what she did, but her lifespan is at the 4-axis level while her cultivation is at the heavenly being stage. It seems she intentionally scattered her cultivation after reaching the 4-axis stage, bringing herself back down to the heavenly being stage. I don't know why she made that decision. In any case, there are 28 artificial stars floating around her in a compressed state, supplying her with power. Regardless of her cultivation realm, her actual combat strength appears to be nearly equivalent to that of 2 people in the Grand Perfection star-shattering stage. Could it be, were they worried because I had fallen into a state of trance? The end is still far off, and judging by the aura I sense, Kong Min-hee's advancement ritual to the sacred vessel stage has not yet concluded. When I lower my consciousness to the Minion star, I see Kong Min-hee still wandering around various parts of the star with Bloodine, Seo Huiol, Seo Ran, and others, absorbing her fragments and raising her cultivation. It seems she experiences bursts of madness each time she absorbs a fragment, but Seo Huiol, by grazing on Bloodine, has prevented her from going berserk, so no problems have occurred. One thing that's concerning is that Seo Huiol appears to be preparing something to break the immortal art that was cast on Seo Ran by Guak Am and Uo, but it still seems a long way off from being broken, so it doesn't appear to be a major issue for now. In any case, it feels good to see these beloved faces after 8,000 years. Now, it's time to walk the path again. I shall now return to cultivation. No, you must not. Master, please, you must come to your senses. I have remembered something about the flawless mantra. I don't know by what cause and effect Master has come to learn of its paired counterpart, but if Master continues to learn it, you might no longer be able to save your comrades. You might become unable to overcome the end. You might lose yourself entirely. Hong Fan. I speak to him. While reciting this mantra, I received a whisper from some being beyond. That being said that if I follow them, I would immediately achieve great completion in the mantra. But I did not follow that being's whisper. Master did very well, whoever that being may be. Instead, my incarnation sits on one of the stars of the colorless sword enclosure, meeting Hong Fan's trembling gaze. Has Hong Fan also reached the star-shattering stage by now? He now appears to be in his early 50s. Perhaps when he reaches the entering nirvana stage, he will look like a man in his early to mid-40s. I proceeded through the proper method. No matter what the darkness whispered, I ignored it all, and by learning this mantra through the proper method, I have glimpsed hope. Hong Fan, as if unable to understand, grasps my hand and asks, "Just what is Master saying?" Hope. At this rate, Master will be consumed by that immortal art and perish before even being able to reach the refuge space for the end. You will die. If I cultivate deeper into this mantra, I can save Kong Minhee. That much is certain. Then what about Sir Myung-hoon? In 2,000 years, didn't Master plan to go and rescue Sir John Myung-hoon with that Seo Huil person? Yes, we plan to use Seo Huil's tainted soul filling the heavens to break John Myung-hoon free. But the bastard alone isn't enough. That person is a true immortal. And for someone like me who isn't a true immortal to contend with a true immortal, I need something beyond what I currently possess. Moreover, I'm still bound by Blood Yin's prophecy as well. Golden Shaking Bird and Blood Yin, the unknown being who gifted Kim Yun with a new form of extraordinary pattern law talent. If I can't deal with them somehow, I won't be able to save my comrades. John Myung-hoon, Kong Minhee, Kim Yun, and even myself. If I am to save everyone, I must find hope here. With the power we possess, we can't do anything. So, we must take a gamble. Because you conveyed the mantra to me, I was able to see hope. Thank you, Hong Fan. It is all my fault. I was wrong. Passing that mantra to Master recklessly without even fully recalling all my memories of it. Master, this servant, Hong Fan, beseeches you. Please do not entrust yourself to the immortal art. Why must Master risk your life on such an uncertain gamble? Because, I smile faintly. Life, after all, exists for my own sake. So if it's to protect something precious to me, I can stake my life on it. More than anything, though I called it a gamble to Hong Fan, I know otherwise. As long as I don't lose myself within this immortal art, I can accomplish everything before the end. Therefore, do not worry. I will definitely return before the end. Thank you, Hong Fan. And thank you, everyone. I bid farewell once more to Hong Fan and to everyone I hadn't seen in 8,000 years, then close the eyes of my incarnation. Now, within the depths of that darkness, it's time to follow the path prepared by the darkness. No, that's not it. It's not the path prepared by the darkness. The pure white mountain of salt and darkness, the two combined to form the wheel. Therefore, this is a path prepared by two beings. Though my comrades and Hong Fan seem to be trying to use even the power of the bright cold realm to influence my mind, waking after 8,000 years was only a brief reprieve achieved after reaching minor completion. Now he is both wheel and axle. He has stepped onto the path we have created, a precious opportunity crafted by the two imperial venerables, even at the cost of deceiving themselves. It is an arrangement set up solely so that the successor can reject the temptations of the two imperial venerables and walk the correct path. This is not a prophecy. It is neither the authority of fate nor the authority of history. It is nothing more than an impossible miracle. Therefore, you, Black Snake, Heisa, for this inheritance alone, no matter what you do, you will not be able to bestow any blessings. This time, the successor will walk alone. Thus, within someone's earnest desire, Seo Eun-hyun once again steps onto a certain path in a state of trance. And from this moment, Seo Eun-hyun's time begins to flow differently, 10,000-fold. Within the time of life that is perceived to be 10,000 times longer, Seo Eun-hyun creates the heavenly outer diagram Great Star and the heavenly inner diagram Great Star, reaching the grand perfection star-shattering stage. However, such things are not what matters. Using Kong Minhee's sacred vessel advancement ritual as a medium, someone deep within the darkness connected to her scatters Seo Eun-hyun's mind. Had he succumbed to the temptation of darkness, he would have ended up in the same plight as Kong Minhee. But Seo Eun-hyun does not yield to the temptation and steadily draws a circle. To fulfill a promise, someone, beyond the darkness, begins to reincarnate Seo Eun-hyun's mind among the 7 stars. Thus, Seo Eun-hyun's mind starts to orbit around a fixed star, drawing a sacred disk, Sumpon. And finally, the eve of the end approaches. Translator notes, sacred disk as in sacred vessel, they are written the same. Chapter 493, Eve of the End, Zhong Chinyet. 4. Chapter 493, Eve of the End, Zhong. I have become a very small being. No, saying become feels a bit strange. I have been small from the moment I was born, but something feels odd. It's as if I used to be a big being. A being capable of destroying the entire world, of moving between stars, possessing authority even greater than those of gods. I don't know why, but I feel like I was that kind of being. Perhaps it's just a delusion. After all, I am merely a tiny microorganism. I live by photosynthesizing, absorbing surrounding materials for nutrients, and in this way, I live my whole life. Then I die. I have become a microorganism, but this time, a slightly larger microorganism than before. Now, I am able to prey on other microorganisms. Unlike last time, I live by devouring microorganisms. While doing so, I am eaten by a microorganism larger than myself and die. When I come to my senses, I am once again a microorganism. But this time, I am not just a slightly larger microorganism. I exist as multiple microorganisms simultaneously. In other words, the microorganism at the eastern edge is me, and the microorganism at the western edge is also me. I have become multiple microorganisms and gather them together. As the collective consciousness of the microorganisms, I make them cooperate to find food. This time, I am neither eaten as before, nor do I live as briefly as before. But eventually, I also reach the end of my lifespan and die. I come to my senses once again. In this world, there are many beings like my previous self, entities that have become the collective consciousness of microorganisms. And I, too, have become a part of one of those collective consciousnesses. These beings with collective consciousness survive by consuming countless microorganisms. Sometimes, there are even cases where one collective consciousness consumes another. In the past, I think I once called these collectives of microorganisms bugs. But what is a bug? And what is a past? I can't quite remember. While I am lost in other thoughts, I am eaten and killed by another bug. When I come to my senses again, I perceive that I have grown larger. I have become a large bug. I realize that I am able to prey on other bugs. The moment I understand this, I keep moving to avoid being eaten by other bugs. Endlessly, I devour other bugs, flee, and struggle to survive. But then, I am crushed to death by a massive rock that falls from the sky. When I come to my senses again, I am alive. In front of me is a stone, and underneath it lies a small bug, crushed to death. By the standards of the past era, it's a stone smaller than a pinky finger, but to bugs, it's a large rock. What exactly is this past era standard? And what kind of organ is a pinky finger? I briefly drift into these other thoughts, but then I quickly stop myself. In the great nature, losing myself in such thoughts could lead to death or being eaten at any moment. I need to quickly prepare to survive. As I move my body, I perceive that my domain has expanded again. I have become bugs. Just as I was once a collective consciousness of microorganisms, I have now become a collective consciousness of bugs. I lead the bugs that have become a part of me and set out to survive. Though I end up dying again, death no longer fills me with dread. In the days of being a microorganism, I didn't know this, but now I do. I am gradually growing. With each experience of death, I am gradually evolving. So death is not something to fear. Rather, it is just another opportunity. Thus, there is no need to fear anything. I continue to grow larger and larger. At first, a microorganism. Next, a bug. Then, a big bug that eats other bugs. After that, a small beast that preys on big bugs. Then, a large beast. An even larger beast. A monster that devours beasts. Eventually, I become the collective consciousness of monsters. Horroruk. The entire world is ablaze. The place where I live is right here. The ground is mostly clear and transparent. Of course, there are also many areas dyed in various colors. But I have to be careful, as sharp and jagged things stick out across the ground. If I'm not cautious, the body could be torn apart in an instant. But what I need to be even more cautious of is the mountain fire. The high places on the ground are called mountains, and at the summit of these mountains, flames sometimes erupt that are the same color as the ground, turning the surroundings into a sea of fire. When that fire touches my body, a pain as if my mind is being torn to shreds. No, pain that is much more excruciating than that is felt. Of course, it doesn't actually harm the physical body, so survival isn't a problem. But if I remain in that fire, the pain grows so intense that I would rather die than live, so I must be cautious. If I'm not careful, merely touching that fire could be so painful that I might commit suicide. If that fire is a threat to the mind, then there is something else that is a threat to life. Quaruru. A black stream flows before me. It is a river. If any being comes into contact with that black stream, they slowly die, regardless of the reason. Fortunately, there is no pain, but even so, it's terribly frightening. The one small relief is that, over time, the black energy dissipates from the water, and it becomes just water. The water created in this way is extremely precious, because that water symbolizes life itself. Fortunately, In the distance, I can see a lake where water has pooled. I lead the bodies towards the lake, guiding them to drink from it. It is then, kugugugugu. The sky turns bright red. Curious about what's going on, I look up, only to see a ball of fire descending from the sky. And it's not just one. Instinctively, I sense that I must not get hit by those fireballs and try to avoid them, but they crash into the distant mountain slope before I can even react. Kugwagwagwa. Along with that, the world trembles. A massive shockwave sweeps us all away, and every race, without exception, is completely wiped out. Gradually, life begins to sprout on the ground. And as expected, I return as well. However, I sense something has changed. The bodies gradually stop listening to me. These bodies now possess something unlike before. Yuyu, 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 yua, yua. They are beings with scales on their bodies, hair on their heads, and smooth faces. My bodies use their tails to bring fire and manipulate it. At the same time, they combine river and fire to create unusual phenomena. They begin to combine the black river and the colorless fire to refine the earth, creating something called tools. Around this time, I realize why the bodies don't listen to me. It is because they have developed something called ego. Now, I can only guide their ego. I can no longer control them directly. However, after discovering their ego, I feel my boundaries expand, growing wider and broader. My mind melts into their ego, becoming them themselves. I am both a mother and a father to someone, and a child and parent to another. I am their prey and their predator, their daily sustenance and their tool, all at once. As they gradually grow stronger in ego and reason, they use tools and begin to use writing. For some reason, the writing is Hangul. What is Hangul again? I think I remembered it once, but it doesn't seem very important. In any case, I evolve together with them, struggle alongside them, and at times, harmonize with them. As their ego develops and their intelligence arises, I gradually melt even deeply within them, to the point where I can no longer even remember my original self. My original self? Just what exactly is that supposed to be? It's of no concern. It doesn't seem important. What's important is that they are me, and I am them. They are constantly filled with fear. It's due to the primal terror of death, but I am not afraid, because I know that death is merely a part of the process by which I am reborn. I whisper wisdom to them. Among them, the perceptive ones receive my wisdom and, at the same time, try to seek out me who gave them the wisdom. Of course, they can never find me, because I am them. But when they fail to find me, they create a symbol to represent me and begin to worship it. Before I know it, I have become their god, son. Those who worship me as their god offer me their prayers and analyze my wisdom. For the sake of those who seek me, I whisper even more wisdom. Countless years pass. Having obtained my wisdom, they begin to start something. And then, sometime later, the most perceptive among them breathes out fire from their mouth. The others grow even more fearful and reverent of that being, growing a deeper worship for me. The one who first breathed fire passes down the method to their kin. The kin record the method in writing and organize it, refine it, and practice it. Before long, they are able to wield increasingly greater amounts of fire. Among those who wield fire, the clever ones improve and evolve the technique, discovering ever more superior methods. Then, at a certain moment, they are struck by lightning falling from the sky. Quarrurum. Those struck by lightning have an image of their younger forms etched within them, their appearance transforming into something never seen before. Their faces remain the same, but their bodies, once nothing but scales and tails, now grow arms and legs, and the scales and tails vanish. They are both amazed and frightened by this change, and soon they give a name to this form. They call it transformation, washing. Soon, those who achieve transformation become leaders among them, ruling over the entire world. At this point, I confirm the true nature of this world. This world is round, and as it spins, it brings about day and night. Before I know it, my mind now pervades this entire world, and I feel my mind connecting with something. It is yet another me, another being, just like myself. It turns out there are 6 other beings like myself, with minds encompassing an entire world. I instinctively know that they and I are the same kind of existence. At the same time, I sense that when my mind expands and grows enough to fully connect with them, something monumental will occur. I want to know what that event might be. More years pass again. Those other selves of mine who call themselves the Candle Dragon race, Jungju, have now reached the highest pinnacle, even surpassing transformation. They call this level the Earth Axis stage. As the number of candle dragons cultivating the Earth Axis stage increases, my mental domain also grows larger and larger, until I am now nearly indistinguishable from the star itself. Then, at a certain moment, one of the candle dragons who reach the Earth Axis stage decides they can no longer cultivate on this star and rises into the sky. They soar into the sky, pierce through the domain of void, and advance to the world of attraction force calling for them. Yes, they have ascended. And it's when the first ascender emerges from me. I am finally able to understand who I am. TSTSTSTSTSTSTS. My mind that has been divided among 7 stars finally reconnects. Simultaneously, the wheel above me takes on a complete form. From the central axis of the wheel, 8 spokes extend outward, connecting to the wheel's rim. The wheel is at last complete. Simultaneously, I finally recover the memories of me that I have forgotten. Kugugugugugu. The stars display strange phenomena. As I reclaim my ego, the surfaces of the stars tremble as if writhing. Forgotten memories from ages past resurface. After creating the heavenly rain great star, I slowly cultivated my incarnation up to the grand perfection integration stage before detonating it to create the heavenly clearing great star. It was easier than the first Esteemed 1 advancement ritual. After all, I was not detonating my entire being, but rather only a clone. During the advancement of the heavenly clearing great star, I created a circle following the formula of the flawless mantra. Simultaneously, this circle spun the nebula, and with the rotational force, drew in the surrounding dust clouds. Through the attraction force of my main body, the heavenly clearing great star reached the same mass as the heavenly rain great star before it became complete. Normally, it would have taken a considerable amount of time to gather the nebula, but the flawless mantra minimized that duration. While reciting the flawless mantra, I continued to create the next stars. Heavenly cloudiness great star. Heavenly wand of connection great star. Heavenly crossing great star. I completed the 5 stars symbolizing rain, clearing, cloudiness, wand of connection, and crossing. At that moment, I briefly regained consciousness and told my comrades that I would walk the path ahead. Afterwards, I returned to the state of trance and created the heavenly inner diagram great star and the heavenly outer diagram great star. The 5 stars orbited around the fixed star, finally aligning in a straight line. The 5 stars, having received the fixed star's authority and in a state connected through star veins, formed the 6th star. Once the 6th star was created, the 6 stars orbited around the fixed star and revolved. This rotation drew in the surrounding nebula, and by using that nebula to complete the final star, I finally entered the grand perfection star-shattering stage with the 7 stars symbolizing rain, clearing, cloudiness, wand of connection, crossing, inner diagram, and outer diagram. Moreover, a grand perfection with all 7 stars possessing the rings of heaven and earth dual cultivation. After entering the grand perfection star-shattering stage, my consciousness shattered into fragments. So that's how it was. I recall when the first me remembered the past. The version of me as a microorganism remembered the me of the star-shattering stage. My memories continue to trace back further into the past. This time, it's memories from the integration stage. During the integration stage, I remember adventuring with my comrades and rising to void shattering. I even recall those 190,000 years spent drifting through the universe back then. My memories go even further back. To the 4-axis, no, to the Earth-axis stage. To when the great mountain supreme deity crushed the Wuji religious order to death. To when I conducted Axis Foundation practice in the ancient Force realm and the Nether Ghost realm. Heavenly Being stage. The time when I split into Seoli. When the golden divine heavenly thunder sect was destroyed by heavenly punishment. Nascent soul stage, core formation stage, chi building stage, chi refining stage. My memories even reach back to those distant and nostalgic times. 5 energies converging to the origin. 3 flowers gather at the summit. Pinnacle, first rate, second rate, third rate. And to that past when I was completely ignorant, first falling onto ascension path. I realized that this phenomenon of tracing back my memories is not a simple recollection of the past. Just like when I advanced to the nascent soul stage, this is a part of the advancement ritual where I trace my entire life back. I see. Following the orbit of the 7 stars, my consciousness has transformed into an orbit around the fixed star in the shape of an outer rim of a disc, pond vessel. My soul is reincarnating around the fixed star, drawing a circle. And with each rotation my consciousness completes within that circle, a memory from a certain realm or a certain stage of my life returns to me. As I revisit the stages of my life, I remember my life. The memories are as vivid and intricate as those in the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Now, should I reach the time before I came to Ascension Path? As I look at my memories from the present all the way to the earliest moments in Ascension Path, I set my heart on tracing back to my days on Earth. Just then, I suddenly realized that there is a part of my life that was not recorded in the canvas of myriad forms and connections. That was the 14th cycle, the time when I joined the Azure Heaven Creation Sect and met Esteemed One Sui Ryong in the True Devil Realm. When I created the 25th move of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship, Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace, and glimpsed Kim Yun's consciousness, peering into something within her memory. That memory was definitely the moment right before reaching Ascension Path. Finally, my consciousness arrives at that point in the past as well, just before reaching Ascension Path. That is, right after we were engulfed by a landslide. I vaguely remember that time. Within the darkness of the buried soil, we, who were on the brink of death in that place, suddenly, as if we had been reborn, reached a new space. Emerging from the darkness into a place of light, we all squinted our eyes and gazed directly at it. There we saw the black snake biting its tail. The being that brought us to this place is the black snake biting its tail. With the piercing pain and pressure inflicted on my mind, I scream a wail that resonates throughout the entire universe. Don't think. A pressure far more terrifying and horrifying than any time I recalled or encountered a governing immortal seems to crush my mind. Until now, the only being that had subjected me to such overwhelming pressure was the oldest one, who pursued me during regression. I quickly shift my mind elsewhere. John Myung-hoon, who handed me the steering wheel just before the landslide. John Myung-hoon, who made me work overtime the night before our workshop. And John Myung-hoon, who 2 days prior had called me out to the smoking area, blowing clouds of cigarette smoke in my face to relieve his own stress. Clinging to my anger towards John Myung-hoon like a lifeline, I swiftly pull myself away from thoughts of that terrifying being. Thank you, John Myung-hoon, for giving me such a powerful emotion. I silently offer an incredulous thank you to John Myung-hoon, and I continue to review my entire life. At last, the moment I was born from my mother and father, I arrive at the scene I saw during the nascent soul stage and quickly pull myself out of the recollection. And finally, I momentarily step out of the orbit of the star system and rise up to the place where the wheel is turning. My orbit, which spans both the wheel and the star system, merges. I feel my mind becoming one with the immortal art. At that same time, the spinning of the orbit begins to accelerate. I detach all the candle dragons who were born on the surface of the planets and relocate them to a nearby star. I know that I could simply absorb those who were born from me, but I decide to grant them a new life and fate. Those who had bought land and buildings on my surface whale, but that is none of my concern. Then, at the moment when the spinning of the 7 stars reaches its peak, boom, I gradually narrow the rotating orbit of the 7 stars. The moment the stars reach the center of the wheel, flash, the spinning stars explode all at once. I feel my mind growing hazy. Just like advancing to the star-shattering stage, advancing to the sacred vessel stage boasts staggering difficulty. Even if a grand perfection star-shattering esteemed one prepares meticulously and chooses the auspicious timing, the success rate for advancement might not even reach 10%. However, compared to advancing to the star-shattering stage, it is noticeably easier. For star-shattering advancement, one must destroy everything of oneself. In contrast, for sacred vessel advancement, one compresses the sacred vessel, disc, and detonates it, but one's immortal art remains intact afterward. The advancement to the sacred vessel stage involves dividing oneself into countless fragments, merging oneself back together within an immortal art, and through that process, creating a rotating orbit through consciousness. Then, compressing that orbit and detonating it is the essence of the sacred vessel advancement ritual. Kugugugugu. As cosmic space vibrates, an immense nebula forms. During the star-shattering stage advancement ritual, this nebula is compressed to create a star. However, it's different for the sacred vessel stage advancement ritual. Centered around the immortal art I have created, the nebula begins to gradually spin. Soon, dust clouds gather at the center of the nebula, and the temperature at its core starts to rise. A tribulation, begins to sweep over. Something is off. Normally, the heavenly tribulation for the sacred vessel advancement ritual arrives from the 4 realms: Underworld, Interdimensional Void, Source River, and Eastern Heaven Flower Field. Heavenly tribulation converges from these realms of 4 and forces the sacred vessel becoming esteemed one to perceive all 4 realms. That is the purpose of the sacred vessel advancement tribulation. Just as the purpose of the star-shattering star tribulation is to connect the star and the esteemed one, the sacred vessel advancement tribulation aims to link existence and the state after death. Quorum. From the source river, star veins writhe, and a heavenly tribulation that erases space-time itself pierces me. From the underworld, a heavenly tribulation composed of the same death energy accumulated within my soul strikes me. From the eastern heaven flower field, a heavenly tribulation that instantly transforms my body to the fates of the eastern heaven flower field and scatters me to death penetrates me. Then, finally, from the interdimensional void, something terrifying and utterly unknowable stabs me. The one certainty is that if I lose my focus while enduring these heavenly tribulations, I will be immediately pulled into the corresponding realm and die. Something is off. As I withstand the heavenly tribulations, I am struck by an odd feeling. It's too strong. Do-do-do-do-do. The number of sacred vessel stage heavenly tribulations that come from each world is 4. That means I am supposed to endure a total of 16 heavenly tribulations. However, even after finishing all 16 rounds of heavenly tribulations, I break out into a cold sweat, feeling the unending onslaught of heavenly tribulations with power far beyond what I heard from Baekwon. The heavenly tribulation has become weird. Normally, one can tell how much heavenly tribulation remains by looking at the sky. How many heavenly tribulations passed, and how many are left can all be seen from the celestial energy. But the heavenly tribulation has gone crazy. No matter how much I try to read the celestial energy, I can only see a future where heavenly tribulation keeps striking continuously, with nothing else discernible. The heavenly tribulation that has always fallen in precise amounts up until now seems to have suddenly lost its mind. The standard of the heavenly tribulation has disappeared. Just why? I grit my teeth inwardly as I continue enduring the blows of the heavenly tribulation. The more the heavenly tribulation crashes down, the stronger the force pulling me towards each realm becomes. The underworld. The force pulling me from that deep, dark place grows even stronger. Oh no. If I keep getting hit by the heavenly tribulations like this, I'll really die. The issue isn't the power of the heavenly tribulation, but its nature. Its nature to drag me towards death is unendingly striking me. How many weeks have I endured, holding on against the 4 realms tribulation like this? Pajijijijic. Finally, the heavenly tribulation subsides. Hu. Kugugugugu. As the nebula spins, my consciousness settles at its center. An astrolabe, Shingpan, of spinning nebula, a holy sacred vessel/disc, Sungpan, of rotating reincarnation. If the star-shattering stage is the realm where one becomes a constellation, then the sacred vessel stage is the realm where one becomes a rotation. At the center of this rotation is my soul, centered on immortal arts, while my true body has become a spinning nebula. As I continue my sacred vessel cultivation, the center of this spinning nebula will gradually grow hotter and stronger, transforming into a fixed star that emits its own light. In the early stage, it is a spinning nebula. In the mid-stage, a fixed star. In the late stage, a red giant. In grand perfection, becoming a white dwarf is the typical cultivation path of the sacred vessel stage. I open my eyes. From the sacred vessel stage onwards, one's very heart essence becomes a world. The colorless sword mountain treading sea great star enclosure has now become a world within my mind. And from now on, as long as I spend time within this world, I can extract anything from it into reality, creating sustaining existences in the world. At the same time, I recall the time I have spent on this evolution. In terms of real time, it was a brief period, not even fully spanning 2,000 years. Yet, during that time, my mind had shattered into at least 10,000 pieces, slowly merging back together. Each of those fragments lived as microorganisms. That's difficult to say if they even have souls, on the surface layers of my origin stars, and underwent countless lives. Therefore, although it was an incredibly short period of time in reality, my subjective experience as I underwent the cycle of reincarnation and created the candle dragon race amounts to around 20 million years. Wawum. As I focus my consciousness, the ring of the nebula, the sacred vessel compresses. I create an incarnation and place the sacred vessel within it, then half open my eyes. It was long. It was a long, and even longer time. The miracle achieved by learning both the flawless mantra and the phenomena extinguishing mantra simultaneously. Instead of the usual cultivation method of splitting one's mind and unifying it under an immortal art, the masters of the 2 immortal arts allowed me to rise to the sacred vessel stage by splitting my mind and living countless lives as microorganisms to evolve a species. It was you two, in the depths of darkness, faintly pulling at me from there, the oldest one. And a mountain built up with pure white salt. The 2 visions pass fleetingly before my eyes. I don't know what it is you want from me. However, I will walk my own path. I quietly express my resolve to the void. No response comes, but that alone is enough. 200,000 years. In subjective time, after 20,190,000 years, I have finally reached the sacred vessel stage. Now then, it's time to prepare for the end. Inside the lightning sacred sea, in the bedchamber of Golden Shaking Bird and John Myung-hoon. There, Golden Shaking Bird clutches her head, trembling uncontrollably in a corner of the bedchamber, as if she has lost her mind. No, please, 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 please. Someone, please tell me it's a dream, please, please, please. Pajik, pajijijic. Red lightning crackles over John Myung-hoon's body, which is covered in countless small footprints with his upper garment removed. Golden shaking bird trembles, trying to pull open the bedroom door as if desperate to escape, but the red lightning repels her hand. THDHDH. She looks back at John Myung-hoon with a face twisted in terror, trembling like mad. They are resurrecting, inside his body. Ah no, I need to get out. I need to get out. I need to get out. But she cannot leave. Unable to leave and unable to approach John Myung-hoon, Golden Shaking Bird can only tremble in horror. Bright cold realm, Heavenly Lotus Mountain. At its center, Baek-woon smiles faintly while looking off into the distance. He's done it. That monstrous child. But this. As she glances down at the black paper in her hand, her faintly smiling face turns grave. This is serious. Ancient Force Realm, Sea King Hall. Nether Ghost Realm, Black Ghost Palace. Purple Gold Realm, Ban-Ta Castle. True Devil Realm, Blood Sacrifice Altar. The Sacred Masters there, and Blood Yin's clones all stare at the black paper in their hands with solemn expressions. Moments later, Hei Lin of the Sea King Hall in the Ancient Force Realm wears a grave expression. Passasak, the black paper held in his hand. The black ancient paper crumbles to dust. He lets out a low groan and clutches his face. Has the tyrannical devil god devoured them as well? Next, it will be the turn of the Hungry One. Is Mount Sumeru's fall inevitable? What are the heavenly venerables doing? Where has the so-called heavenly craftsman vanished to? And just what is the snake doing now? Are the Radiant Sade immortals only good for putting on airs and unable to do anything in the face of that devil god? The world will be overturned. Hei Lin sighs deeply, tears of anguish streaming from his eyes. After devouring the Elephant Nose Heavenly Domain and the Owner of Names. Next came the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain and the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain. The Great Mountain Supreme Deity, who has devoured a total of 2 Supreme Deities and 4 Heavenly Domains, now sends their will towards the Good Sight Heavenly Domain. COMEFORTHVOID. Raising both hands, they speak. IFYOUDONOT are EVEALYOURHEADISHALLDEVOURYOUWHOLE. But no response comes from within. With a faintly simmering anger, the Great Mountain Supreme Deity slowly brings their hands together. The Good Sight Heavenly Domain begins to crumple. DISGUSTINGSLAVECONTINUETOFAILAND are EPEATEDLYFACEDEATH. Do. Thus, after crushing and swallowing the Good Sight Heavenly Domain, the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, now having devoured 5 Heavenly Domains, heads toward the twin holding Heavenly Domain while muttering quietly. WHILEYOULEIDOWNTHISEATSHALLFEASTO and HUNGE are LAYDOW NACARPETWITHTHES NAK SBLOODAND are EACHTHAAUDIENCAC HAMB are DONOT are EG RET